Chapter 465. Well, the benefactor is no longer in West Qi. Jiang Zia said regretfully when he heard that. He's not in West Qi. Where did he go? Isn't he the benefactor of West Qi? Perfected Tai asked curiously. The benefactor followed Uncle Master Xian due to the Great Red Heaven to meet the Great Master. Neza explained when he heard that. Oh, what's going on? Everyone was shocked when they heard that the matter involved the great Taoist Master Xiandu and his father. Even Randang, who had been silent all this while, had a glint in his eyes. Randang was originally thinking about the sea-calming divine pearl. When he heard that someone could take away the Dharma treasure, he was excited. Of course, his excitement was different from the others. The others were excited purely because Zhao Gongming was no longer a threat after breaking the sea-calming divine pearl. What about Randang? He was thinking about how to take the sea-calming divine pearl for his own use. Today was the first time he saw the sea-calming divine pearl. Randang seemed to feel that it was his treasure of destiny. He had to get it no matter what price he had to pay. However, Zhao Gongming was not an ordinary person. He was the eldest senior brother of the outer sect of Jie School. He was not inferior to the direct disciples of the inner sect. The sea-calming divine pearl was his Dharma treasure. It would be a fool's dream to snatch it or trade it. However, if he could take away the treasure and it was no longer in Zhao Gongming's hands, it would be simple. At the thought of that, Randang could not help but feel excited. No matter what Randang thought, the others were curious about how the benefactor was related to the great Taoist Master Xiandu and could even go to the Great Red Heaven to meet the sage. The benefactor is a direct disciple of Ren School. However, Jiang Zia's first sentence caused their bodies to tremble as they cried out in disbelief. That's impossible. It was exactly the same as when Zhong, the 10 heavenly lords, and the others heard it for the first time. No one believed it. If they did not know that Jiang Zia would not lie to them, Guang Chengzi and the others would have thought that he was making fun of them. From the beginning to the end, Ren School only had one direct disciple. Xiandu, where did this Fang Qingshan come from? I know that senior brothers don't believe me, but eldest senior brother Xiandu admitted it himself. Jiang Zia smiled bitterly. Otherwise, why would he bring King into Great Scarlet Sky? Seeing that everyone was silent, Jiang Zia knew that they were still digesting the information. After a pause, Jiang Zia continued after they digested the information. He told everyone everything he knew about the situation on the surface. It's Sanqing in one breath. Hearing that Fang Qingshan was actually taught this supreme divine ability, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. What do we do now? This junior brother Fang went to Great Scarlet Sky. Do you know if he will return or not? When he will return? Perfected being Yu Ding asked impatiently. After all, Yellow Dragon was still captured by Zhao Gongming. Report. At this moment, a soldier suddenly came to report. Our benefactor has returned. Benefactor, you have come the right time. Jiang Zia was overjoyed when he heard that. Since this benefactor is a direct disciple of Ren School, he can be considered our fellow disciple. Let's go and welcome him together. At that moment, Randang suddenly spoke. Although Guang Qingzi and the others were puzzled, they did not object to it. Hence, as soon as Fang Qingshan arrived in front of the hall, he saw a group of people walking out, while Jiang Zia was standing in the corner. Seeing everyone, especially one of them, Fang Qingshan's pupils constricted. That was because that person's aura was not weaker than his eldest senior brother, the great Taoist Master Xian Du. As for the others, they also gave him a strong sense of oppression. Clearly, their cultivation levels were definitely above the golden immortal level. Could they be? Fang Qingshan had a faint guess in his heart. Senior brother Qingshan, let me introduce you. Jiang Zia saw that Fang Qingshan was confused and hurriedly went forward to introduce them. This is the deputy sect master of Chan School, teacher Randang. This is the eldest senior brother of Chan School, Guang Qingzi. This is the direct disciple of Ren School, Fang Qingshan, senior brother Fang. Fang Qingshan of Ren School greets teacher Randang, senior brother Guang Qingzi, and senior brothers. Fang Qingshan thought to himself, as expected. However, he did not show it on his face and bowed to everyone with a smile. Greetings, Taoist Qingshan. Greetings, junior brother Fong. Randang, Guang Qingzi, and the others naturally returned the greeting. After exchanging pleasantries, everyone returned to the hall and sat down. I heard from Zia that Fong Taoist has a way to take away Dharma treasures. Randang pretended to be nonchalant and asked, "That's right, benefactor. You used to say that you would tell me when the time came. You should tell me now." Neza hurriedly echoed when he heard that. He had always been brooding over how Fong Qingshan had taken away his Dharma treasure back then. The others also turned to look at him, waiting for his reply. Fong Qingshan first looked at Randang meaningfully and nodded. "That's right. I have a treasure that can indeed take away other people's Dharma treasures." "Oh? What treasure is it? Can you let us take a look?" Randang's eyes lit up when he heard that. Of course. Fong Qingshan did not hide anything and took out the treasure fall coin, a supreme-grade, connate numinous treasure. When they saw the treasure fall coin, Randang, Guang Chengzi, and the others exclaimed. Following that, many pairs of fiery eyes stared at the copper coin in Fong Qingshan's hand, wishing that they could snatch it away. Connate numinous treasures were already rare, let alone supreme-grade connate numinous treasures. Many of the 12 golden immortals of Chan School only had superior-grade connate numinous treasures. On the other hand, Fong Qingshan, an itinerant immortal, actually had a supreme-grade connate numinous treasure. How could he not be envious? That's right. This item is called the Treasure Fall Coin, a supreme-grade connate numinous treasure. Fong Qingshan nodded with a smile, and then casually added a sentence. Then, he casually added, "Teacher gave me a Dharma treasure when I became his disciple." Upon hearing that, Randang, Guang Chengzi, and the others could not help but tremble and retract their burning gazes. Can this treasure really drop Zhao Gongming's Dharma treasure? In order to avoid awkwardness, Guang Chengzi changed the topic. Of course, Fong Qingshan said firmly. The treasure fall coin will drop all treasures below the connate cardinal treasure. In that case, please help me, junior brother Fong. When I challenge Zhao Gongming to a battle, I'll drop that 5-color treasure and cut off one of his arms. Yu Ding wanted to save Huang Long, but he also wanted to take revenge. Therefore, he immediately asked for Fong Qingshan's help. Qingshan is naturally duty-bound. Fong Qingshan agreed without hesitation. The reason why he did not stay in Great Red Sky and took the risk to return to West Qi was because of the sea-calming Divine Pearl and the other Dharma treasures, apart from other reasons. It was a supreme-grade, connate numinous treasure that was even above the treasure fall coin. Randang had even obtained the Tao with that treasure. How could Fong Qingshan not be tempted? Chapter 466. On the second day, the immortals went out of the city to fight. Zhao Gongming was about to continue to kill the 12 golden immortals in Dipong, but he saw Wen Zhong and the 2 heavenly lords suddenly exclaim at a stranger with the cultivation of an itinerant immortal beside Dipong. "It's you, Martial Nephew One. Who is this person?" Zhao Gongming raised his brows when he saw this and asked Wen Zhong. Fong Qingshan greets Grand Tutor One, the 2 heavenly lords, and senior brother Zhao Gongming. Before Wen Zhong could speak, Fong Qingshan took a step forward and said with a smile, "Fong Qingshan, it's you." When Zhao Gongming heard Fong Qingshan introduce himself, he could not help but come to a realization. After he came to Shiqi, Fong Qingshan had already gone to Dachi Heaven with Xuandu, but Zhao Gongming still knew his reputation. First of all, he was the king of Shiqi, and his status was as important as Jiang Zia, who presided over the God Conferment expedition. Before King Wen passed away, he asked me to ask Zia about external affairs and King In about internal affairs. Secondly, his cultivation level was that of an itinerant immortal, but he had broken 2 of the 10 absolute formations. Of course, the most important thing was his identity as the heir of the Ren school. Otherwise, even golden immortals and primordial immortals would not necessarily be taken seriously by the disciples of the 3 religions. "Why? Do you still want to attack me?" Although he knew Fang Qingshan's identity, Zhao Gongming's expression became even uglier. After all, including the 4 saints of Nine Dragons Island and the 10 heavenly lords, the number of disciples of Jie School who had died in Fang Qingshan's hands had almost exceeded the number of fingers. As the eldest senior brother of the outer sect of Jie School, it would be strange if Zhao Gongming gave him a good attitude. Others were afraid of Fang Qingshan's identity as the heir of the Ren School, but Zhao Gongming was not afraid. After all, although he was not one of the 4 inner sect disciples of Jie School, he was only second to them. Compared to Fang Qingshan's cultivation level, Zhao Gongming had reached the late stage of the zenith heaven. As long as he did not kill Fang Qingshan, it would not be a big problem even if he humiliated him. I wouldn't dare. Fang Qingshan didn't seem to notice Zhao Gongming's expression and said with a faint smile, I heard that senior brother Zhao Gongming has a treasure that is very impressive. It just so happens that I also have a treasure that I feel is not bad. I was just about to ask senior brother for guidance. Huh? You want to compare treasures with me? When Zhao Gongming heard this, he felt as if he had heard it wrong. Following that, he was filled with anger. He was completely looking down on Zhao Gongming. Zhao Gongming believed that Fang Qingshan had a good treasure. After all, he was a direct disciple of the Ren School. It was normal for his father to give him a supreme-grade, connate numinous treasure. But given his cultivation level, so what if he used a supreme-grade, connate spiritual treasure? Zhao Gongming was not one of the 4 saints of Nine Dragons Island, nor was he one of the 10 heavenly lords. Even if he didn't use any magic treasures or special abilities, it wouldn't be a problem for him to suppress them with just his magic power alone. He wondered where Fang Qingshan got his confidence from. That's right, I hope senior brother can fulfill my wish. Fang Qingshan smiled nonchalantly, but his tone was filled with determination. Since you want to die, I'll grant your wish. Zhao Gongming said coldly. On account that you are a direct disciple of Ren School, I won't bully you. I'll only use 50% of my strength. If you can survive, I'll admit defeat. As he spoke, Zhao Gongming took out the sea-calming divine pearl. Are you ready? Zhao Gongming reminded him. Senior brother, feel free to attack. Fang Qingshan said confidently. As soon as he finished speaking, the sea-calming divine pearl shone brightly with 5-colored light. Then it flew towards Fang Qingshan. He could not see or hear anything. In a split second, the sea-calming divine pearl had already arrived in front of Fang Qingshan. Actually, that was because Zhao Gongming had shown mercy. Apart from being able to open up worlds and having the effect of stabilizing the sea-calming pearl had infinite power. When the 24 pearls appeared together, they could carry the power of the 4 seas. His speed was also very fast. It was as fast as a rainbow and impossible to guard against. Not only could he not see it with his eyes, but his spiritual senses could also not detect it. That was also the reason why the 12 golden immortals were defeated. He could not dodge in time and could only take it head-on. In the end, Fang Qingshan was only an itinerant immortal. He was still a direct disciple of Ren School. Although Zhao Gongming said that he had used 50% of his strength, he had only used 30% at most. Moreover, he was prepared to stop at any time. Otherwise, if the treasure really smashed on a Fang Qingshan, he would probably be smashed into a pile of meat paste. One had to know that even the body of perfected Yu Ding, who cultivated the 9 revolutions essence art, could not withstand the blow of the sea-calming pearl, let alone Fang Qingshan. If he really smashed Fang Qingshan, the only direct disciple of Ren School, to death, he would not be able to explain to his uncle master. Fang Qingshan was startled, and he almost subconsciously tossed out the treasure fall coin. Buzz! There was no earth-shattering sound, nor was there any extraordinary phenomenon. The treasure-dropping coin and the sea-calming divine pearl collided gently and trembled. Following that, the sea-calming divine pearl, which had always been invincible, was like a deflated ball. It instantly softened and was caught by Fang Qingshan. He stuffed it into the Sumeru's space. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. When Zhao Gongming came back to his senses, he had already lost contact with the sea-calming divine pearl. Guang Chengzi and the others, who did not have much hope at first, were overjoyed. Although the treasure-dropping coin was also a supreme-grade Khanate numinous treasure, and Fang Qingshan had boasted that there was nothing under the Khanate cardinal treasure, they had been skeptical. They did not expect it to really succeed. How dare you? As for Zhao Gongming, he was naturally extremely furious. The sea-calming divine pearl was his life. It was a treasure that concerned his Dao attainment. He could not afford to lose it. However, he did not expect that it would be easily snatched away by an itinerant immortal today. How could he have the face to meet his many friends from the 3 mountains and 5 peaks? To think that he had thought that the 3 sects would spare his life because they were family. It turned out that he had long been plotting against his treasure. His intentions were truly reprehensible, and his crimes were unforgivable. However, now was not the time to be angry. The most important thing was to snatch the sea-calming divine pearl back as soon as possible. There was no time to think. Zhao Gongming could not care less about Fang Qingshan's identity as a direct disciple of Ren School. Since he dared to plot against his Dao attainment treasure, he would not let him off. With a flick of his finger, the dragon binding chain shot out like a bolt of lightning. This time, he did not hold back. Fang Qingshan did not even have the time to take out the treasure-dropping coin. Just as he was about to be tied up, a ray of light suddenly flashed. The dragon-binding chain was immediately fixed in midair. He looked in the direction of the light and saw Qi Jingzi smiling at him with the yin-yang mirror in his hand. We didn't have enough fun yesterday. Let's continue today. Then, perfected Yuding jumped out with a sword in his hand and attacked Zhao Gongming. If Zhao Gongming still had the sea-calming divine pearl, Yuding would still be afraid of him. However, now that the sea-calming divine pearl had been snatched away, even if Zhao Gongming's cultivation level was higher than his, what did Yuding have to be afraid of? Chapter 467. Those who were good at fighting did not have outstanding achievements. It was referring to people like perfected Yuding. His cultivation level was indeed not comparable to Guang Chengzi and the others, but his combat power was not weak at all. After all, he cultivated the 9 transformations technique, which was inherited from Pangu. Back then, Wu people were so powerful that they fought against heaven and earth. With his bare hands, he was not at a disadvantage even when facing Dongwang Tai, who had the Khanate cardinal treasure, the Bell of Chaos. What about Zhao Gongming? Without the sea-calming pearl, although it was not to say that he was a dragon in shallow water or a tiger in a flat land, he would still lose an arm, especially when it was a close combat. The sea-calming pearl was taken down by Fang Qingshan. The dragon-taming rope was fixed by the yin-yang mirror, and Fang Qingshan took it away. Now, Zhao Gongming only had a steel whip in his hand. Hence, he was no match for perfected Yuding. He could still suppress ordinary people with his strength, but he was completely helpless against perfected Yuding. After fighting for less than 10 rounds, his hair was already disheveled, and he was in a mess. Although Zhao Gongming hated him to death, he knew that he had failed today. If he didn't leave now, perfected Huanglong would probably be his example. As long as there was life, there was hope. After finding a gap, Zhao Gongming blocked perfected Yuding's sword and turned to leave like a stray dog without any hesitation. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned at first. They didn't expect Zhao Gongming, who had beaten them up badly yesterday, to be running away like a wolf. Guang Chengzi and the others couldn't help but laugh out loud. After a while, they thanked Fang Qingshan. If it wasn't for Junior Brother's help, I don't know when we would have been able to vent our anger. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan quickly dodged and said with a smile, "Senior Brother Guang Chengzi, what are you talking about? After all, I'm also from West Qi. It's my duty to retreat. Besides, I made a huge profit by getting Zhao Gongming's treasure." Speaking of this, Deepang's expression changed slightly and he smiled. "In that case, I wonder if it's possible for us to see what kind of magic treasure has such an effect." Guang Chengzi and the others were curious when they heard that. They also wanted to know what kind of treasure it was that almost destroyed their reputations in one day. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan knew that he could not refuse, nor did he need to. If it were in the past, Fang Qingshan would probably feel that it was troublesome to obtain the sea-calming pearl. However, now, with his identity as a direct disciple of Ren School, even if Randang wanted to plot against him, he did not dare to act rashly. Of course not. As he spoke, Fang Qingshan took out the 24 sea-calming divine pearls from the Meru space and handed them to Randang. Randang carefully took it. He did not show it on his face, but his heart was in turmoil. My Tao is complete. If it were not for the fact that the sea-calming divine pearl did not belong to him, and if it were not for the fact that he was in public with Guang Chengzi and the others, Randang would not have been able to suppress the surging emotions in his heart and roared at the sky. Fortunately, Randang was extremely shrewd. He knew that he could only plan in secret and not be too hasty. Hence, he pretended to admire it and played with it for a while before passing it to Guang Chengzi. The sea-calming divine pearl circled around the hands of Guang Chengzi and the others before returning to Fang Qingshan's hand. Forget about Guang Chengzi, the heavenly lord of Tao and Tao, the great Taoist master of numinous treasure, and the others looked at Fang Qingshan with envy and jealousy. There were a total of 24 sea-calming divine pearls. Each of them was an inferior grade, connate numinous treasure. When the 12 of them were combined into a set of numinous treasures, it was a middle-grade, connate numinous treasure. Logically speaking, if the 24 of them were combined into one, it would only become a superior grade, connate numinous treasure. However, the two superpositions actually allowed the sea-calming divine pearl to cross the superior grade barrier and advance to a supreme grade, connate numinous treasure. Although it was only at the bottom of the supreme grade and could not compare to Fang Qingshan's treasure-dropping coin, as long as it crossed that barrier, it would be a world of difference. He was also supreme grade, even though he was at the bottom. However, what puzzled Guang Chengzi and the others was that they had just investigated and realized that the sea-calming divine pearl was a little incomplete. There seemed to be 12 more. In the end, they had not refined it, so it was just a guess. However, they did not know if it was an illusion or if it was true. If it was really incomplete, where were the remaining sea-calming divine pearls? Were they hidden by Zhao Gongming, or did he not have them himself? For a moment, it became an unsolved mystery. Guang Chengzi and the others were rather talkative. Only two people present were absent-minded. One of them was Randang. He did not care if it was complete or not. The current situation was how he should obtain the sea-calming divine pearl from Fang Qingshan. It was impossible to snatch it by force. Although Fang Qingshan's cultivation level could not withstand a single blow, and he could suppress him with a flip of his hand, once he did that, not only would he end Chan school, but he might also incur his father's wrath. The gains would not make up for the losses. In that case, the only thing left was to trade. However, that was not easy. After all, the sea-calming divine pearl was a supreme grade, connate numinous treasure. Its preciousness was self-evident. In his hands, the only thing that could compare to this treasure was his main body, the first coffin in the world, the coffin lamp. However, it was obvious that he could not use the coffin lamp to exchange for it. Therefore, for a moment, Randang did not know what to do. What about Fang Qingshan? After hearing the guesses of Guang Chengzi and the others, he recalled something from the past. He vaguely remembered that someone had once speculated that there were a total of 36 sea-calming divine pearls. They were top-notch connate numinous treasures that were not inferior to the Mountain River map and the God Slayer. However, there were only 24 left in the hands of the Grandmaster of Heaven. He did not know if the other 12 had been destroyed long ago, or if they had not appeared, or if they had been obtained by someone else and kept a secret, or if they had been shelved. On the West Qi side, the sea-calming pearl had chased away Zhao Gongming's joy. It was a change from the dull atmosphere of the past few days. It was either the east wind suppressing the west wind or the west wind suppressing the east wind. Since the West Qi side was happy, the Chaoga side was naturally sad. When Zhao Gongming returned to the camp of Chaoga, his face seemed to have become that of Master Bao, and his body exuded an aura that kept strangers away. Seeing this, Wen Zhong and the others did not dare to provoke him at this time. The more Zhao Gongming thought about it, the angrier he became. He wanted to eat Fang Qingshan's flesh and sleep on his skin. He, a dignified Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal, was actually defeated by an individual immortal. He even lost the Dao Attainment Treasure and was defeated by perfected Yuding. It was a great humiliation. If it was spread out, he would definitely become a laughingstock, and his reputation would be ruined. The more he thought about it, the more unwilling he became. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to take revenge. However, now that he had lost the Sea-calming Pearl and could not even defeat Yuding, it was impossible for him to take revenge. After thinking about it, Zhao Gongming still felt that it was the best plan to get help. If his eldest sister could take action, it would be easy to suppress Guang Chengzi and the others, including Randang. Again, not to mention taking back the Sea-calming Divine Pearl. Thinking of this, Zhao Gongming immediately said goodbye to Wenzhong and said that he would be back soon. Chapter 468. Speaking of Zhao Gongming's eldest sister, before the conferred god battle, she was a nobody, just like Kong Xian, who was still serving as the Shang dynasty's chief military officer. But in the future, this person's reputation was like thunder to the ears. After all, the Nine Bins Yellow River Array had caused Randang, Luya, and the others to flee at the sight of it. It had also captured Guang Chengzi and the other 12 Golden Immortals in one fell swoop, forcing the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning to bully the weak and take action personally. He was comparable to Kong Xian. After all, when he was at the Golden Chicken Ridge, Kong Xian was also the same. He guarded the pass alone and prevented Chan School from advancing. In the end, Saint Juani had to come personally and bully the weak before he broke the tribulation. Along the way, because Juani let his guard down, Kong Xian took away his golden body. These two people could be said to be the most outstanding figures in the conferred god battle. However, Yin Xiao was still carefree on the Three Immortal Island. In fact, with Yin Xiao's aptitude, comprehension, luck, and background, she was not inferior to Duo Bao of Jie School, Guang Chengzi of Chan School, and Xian Du of Ren School. However, he was implicated by Qiong Xiao, Bai Xiao, and Zhao Gongming. If it were not for the sake of avenging Zhao Gongming, Yin Xiao would not have come out of the mountain. If she had not come out, the 12 Golden Immortals would not have suffered the tribulation, and the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning would not have personally come out. If the Primordial Lord of Heaven did not take the field, Tong Tian would not make a move either. After all, Tong Tian did not care about the death of so many outer disciples. He also knew that the good and bad of Jie School were mixed. Sending some people onto the rankings was not only a way to prune the branches and cut the leaves. At the same time, it was also a way out for those who did not have a good background. In addition, it was also to reduce the burden of the Chan School. After all, there were so few people in the Chan School. If there were too many people on the list, their inheritance would be cut off. In this way, the conferred God War at least maintained some restraint. Unfortunately, from the moment Zhao Gongming headed to the Three Immortal Island and Luya left the mountain, things were already irreversible. Moreover, after Fang Qingshan obtained the Sea-calming Divine Pearl, he naturally couldn't wait to refine it. That was a top-notch Khanate numinous treasure. Fang Qingshan only had the Treasure Fall coin at the moment. Furthermore, the Treasure Fall coin was more of an auxiliary function. However, the Sea-calming Divine Pearl was different. First of all, as its name suggested, the Sea-calming Divine Pearl had the effect of suppressing and sealing the water element. Secondly, there was the method that Zhao Gongming used to deal with Guang Chengzi and the others. It could be used as a magical treasure like a seal or a seal to smash people directly. There were also pearl-type Dharma treasures. Many of them had spatial attributes. They could imitate Randang and use the 24 Sea-calming Divine Pearls as the foundation to open up the 24 heavens. Of course, accomplishing this was slightly troublesome. After all, he didn't possess the universe ruler. However, Fang Qingshan had a Khanate small world. If he could perfectly integrate the 24 Sea-calming Divine Pearls into the Khanate small world, it would not be far from Ronding's 24 heavens. However, the Sequel Pearl was a natural spirit treasure and it wasn't so easy to refine. When Fang Qingshan refined the Treasurefall coin all those years ago, he burned a great deal of his lifespan to borrow the energy of destiny to barely refine a single strand of it. Although the grade of the sea-calming divine pearl was not as good as that of the Treasurefall coin, its restriction was even more difficult to refine. In this regard, Fang Qingshan was already mentally prepared, so he was not discouraged. He just used his Dharma power to wash the Dharma treasure and stained it with his own aura. The rest was to rely on time, or he could only refine it quickly when his cultivation level increased in the future. After putting the sea-calming divine pearl aside, Fang Qingshan took out another Dharma treasure. It was the dragon-taming rope that he had obtained from Zhao Gongming. This Dharma treasure was far from being comparable to the sea-calming divine pearl. In terms of grade, it was probably similar to Fang Qingshan's Joey Cauldron and Haotian treasure mirror. However, under special circumstances, it had a miraculous effect. For example, when dealing with the Dragon Clan, if Zhao Gongming didn't have the dragon-taming rope, it would be wishful thinking to capture immortal Huanglong. Although his cultivation level and Dharma treasures were more powerful than Huanglong, Huanglong was accepted as a disciple by the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning and was ranked among the 12 Golden Immortals. Naturally, he deserved his reputation. Even if he couldn't defeat or escape, he should at least be able to hold on for a while. One had to know that Guangchengzi and the others would be able to escape as long as they could hold on for a few moves. However, he was still suppressed by Zhao Gongming in the end. In this regard, the dragon-taming rope was the main contributor. Fortunately, this item was an acquired Dharma treasure and not a connate spiritual treasure like Zhang Xuan's fairy binding rope. Otherwise, Fang Qingshan would probably be helpless. Fang Qingshan soon saw the treasure being refined. The dragon-taming rope turned into a small snake and wrapped around Fang Qingshan's wrist. If one didn't pay attention, one would think that it was a bracelet. Fang Qingshan had gained a lot after obtaining the two treasures, the dragon-taming rope and Zhao Gongming. Although he had offended Zhao Gongming and the three sky fairies, so what? Once Luya arrived and used the Nailhead 7 Arrows book, Zhao Gongming was about to die. Once Zhao Gongming died, the three sky fairies would leave the mountain. So what if the 9 Bends Yellow River array shocked the world? Qiong Shao and Bai Shao died tragically, and Yun Shao was suppressed under the Qilin Cliff of Kunlun Mountain. Coincidentally, he could also plan the array diagram of the 9 Bends Yellow River array. Besides, not to mention Zhao Gongming and the three sky fairies, even the God-confirmed battle of Jie School would collapse once it ended. What was there for Fang Qingshan to be afraid of? At this moment, if he did not seize the opportunity and plan for himself, it would be too late to regret it if he missed the great calamity. If he did not give it to the heavens, he would be blamed. After dealing with the spoils of war, Fang Qingshan flipped his hand and took out a string of spiritual pearls. The string of spiritual pearls was similar to the sea-calming divine pearl. They both shone with colorful spiritual light. However, the colorful spiritual light of the sea-calming divine pearl made people unable to see or hear it. As for the colorful spiritual light of the string of spiritual pearls, it was only white, green, black, red, and yellow because of the 5 elements. That was a numinous treasure that Fang Qingshan had given him after he followed the great Taoist Master Xian due to the great scarlet heaven to meet the sage and obtained his approval. Fang Qingshan was in a hurry to return to West Qi. After he returned, he schemed against the sea-calming divine pearl and did not have the chance to refine it. He did not know if it was because the treasure was compatible with Fang Qingshan's attributes or because he had taken care of him when he gave him the treasure. It was actually quite easy to refine. In just a moment, Fang Qingshan had refined 3 restrictions. However, that was as far as he could go. There was no need to talk about attacking the later restrictions. Just looking at them was enough to make him feel intimidated. However, it was enough to refine 3 restrictions. Fang Qingshan had a rough understanding of the string of 5-element spirit pearls. The 5-element spirit pearl was formed by the 5 spirit pearls of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It was also a set of numinous treasures. Just like the sea-calming pearl, a single spiritual pearl was a middle-grade connate numinous treasure. When the 5 spiritual pearls were combined into one, it would be a superior-grade connate numinous treasure. Although it was not a supreme-grade connate numinous treasure, Fang Qingshan was already satisfied. Even if Fang Qingshan gave him a supreme-grade connate numinous treasure, he would not exchange it because that Dharma treasure was the most suitable for him. Chapter 469. Dong, Dong, Dong. Just as Fang Qingshan was rejoicing over the Dharma treasures he had obtained, there was a knock on the door. Is Taoist Qingshan here? I'm Randang. I have something to discuss. Please meet me. Then, Randang's voice came from outside the house. Fang Qingshan's expression froze at first. Then, after hearing that it was Randang, his expression relaxed, and he looked unsurprised. Ever since he obtained the sea-calming divine pearl, Fang Qingshan knew that Randang would look for him sooner or later. After all, it was his Tao attainment treasure. With that treasure, he could open up the 24 heavens and have the confidence to become an ancient Buddha of the Buddhist sect. However, he did not expect Randang to be so anxious and come a look for him now. He stood up and opened the door to welcome Randang in. I wonder why Taoist Randang is visiting so late at night. What do you have to discuss with me? Although Fang Qingshan knew the purpose of Randang's visit, he still pretended not to know anything and pretended to be puzzled. Randang took a deep breath and went straight to the point. I want to make a deal with the Taoist. Oh, what deal? Fang Qingshan asked despite knowing the answer. The sea-calming divine pearl in the Taoist hand is related to my path to Tao attainment. I wonder if the Taoist can part with it? Randang said with a solemn and hopeful expression. It could be considered that Randang owes the Taoist karma. Fang Qingshan could not help but sneer when he heard that. One karma could be exchanged for a top-notch connate numinous treasure. This karma is too good. Why didn't I encounter such a good thing? Moreover, even if he made a promise of karma, Fang Qingshan would not believe a person like Randang. There were 3 people who had a bad reputation among the desolation. One of them was Zhuani. Although he was a sage, his reputation was tarnished when he said that the Taoist was fated with the West and that the treasure was fated with him. Not to mention that he often came to the East to beg for alms. The 1 meter higher sky. However, Fang Qingshan still admired Zhuani. After all, he had thrown away his pride as a saint not for himself, but for the glory of Buddhism and the West. The second was Shun Gongbao. During the Battle of God Confirmant, he had asked the Taoist to stay, but that had caused people to flee at the mere sight of him. He was simply the reincarnation of a jinx, and whoever encountered him would be unlucky. The reason why so many outer sect disciples of Jie School had died was because of him. It could be said that Jiangxia was hosting the conferred God War on the surface, but Shun Gongbao was secretly pushing it forward. Unfortunately, neither he nor Jiangxia had a good ending. Jiangxia had no fate with the great Tao. His body died and his Tao disappeared. He still owed all sorts of karma. Shun Gongbao was not much better off. He was directly thrown into the North Sea Reclamation Eye. As for the last person, it was Randang. His way of doing things was exactly the same as Zhuanti's. His usual slogan was that this item was fated with him, and he would seize it by force. Those who did not know better would think that he was Zhuanti's direct disciple. It was no wonder that he had to seek refuge in the West in the end, and even became an important Buddha of Buddhism. There were signs of that. I heard that the Taoist has a treasure called the Cosmic Ruler. I think this item is also fated with me. Fang Qingshan chuckled. Why don't I owe Taoist Randang a karma, and you give me this Dharma treasure? Randang was embarrassed at first, but then he felt a chill in his heart. He was embarrassed because he wanted to use a karma to exchange for a top-notch connate spiritual treasure. Even if he became a sage-to-be, he could not exchange a karma for a top-notch connate spiritual treasure, not to mention that Randang was just a zenith heaven golden immortal. Of course, if Fang Qingshan was like Xiao Bao and Xiao Sheng, he would probably be more than happy to exchange it. After all, firstly, an innocent man would get into trouble because of his wealth. They could not protect that treasure at all. Secondly, compared to the sea-calming divine pearl, the karma of Ronding's favor was obviously more helpful to them. Unfortunately, he did not trust him. In the end, he was sold, and he still counted the money for Randang. However, Fang Qingshan was not someone that Xiao Bao could compare to. He was the only two direct disciples of Rin School. Randang did not dare to take it away from him. As for the awe-inspiring thing, it was naturally the heaven-measuring ruler that Fang Qingshan mentioned. That Dharma treasure was a Dharma treasure that he had obtained from the Treasure Division Cliff when he was listening to the Tao in the Purple Cloud Palace. It was a superior-grade Dharma treasure and could be considered a high-quality one. If that was all, Randang would not have paid too much attention to it. After all, his main body was the first coffin in the world. He was one of the 4 lamps that opened the sky, the coffin lamp that was on par with the 8 scenery palace lamp, the treasure lotus lamp, and the emerald light yin-yang lamp. The key was that after he obtained the treasure, he discovered that there was a secret technique in it that could use spatial treasures to open up worlds. However, his luck seemed to have run out after the Treasure Division Cliff. Even when he became a disciple of the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning, he did not obtain any Dharma treasures. Therefore, he had always treated the cosmic ruler as an offensive numinous treasure. It was only when he encountered the sea-calming pearl that he realized that his Tao was complete. Could it be that the sea-calming pearl also has the same secret technique as the cosmic ruler? Randang guessed in his heart. If that was the case, he would probably be in trouble. Fortunately, when he saw the faint smile on Fang Qingshan's face, Randang heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that it was not for any other reason. It was purely because Fang Qingshan was angry and teasing him. "Taoist, you're joking." Randang smiled and said in a low voice, "I wonder how the Taoist can trade the sea-calming divine pearl with me? Naturally, there has to be equivalent value in a transaction." Fang Qingshan said calmly, "Although the sea-calming divine pearl is a treasure related to the Taoist Tao, I don't want much. I just want something of equal value." Ronding's expression turned ugly when he heard that. If he wanted to obtain the sea-calming divine pearl, he would need at least a supreme-grade connate numinous treasure. He had one on him, which was his spirit coffin lamp. However, if he handed it to someone else, he would undoubtedly disregard his life and death. How could he do that? However, he could not use force. Randang was momentarily in a dilemma. His expression changed almost with every breath he took. It was as if he was changing his expression. It was extremely beautiful. Fang Qingshan was calm and composed. He was not in a hurry. If Randang wanted to exchange it, he could accept it if he took out the corresponding Dharma treasures. After all, this item was related to Ronding's Tao attainment. He did not intend to form a feud with him. However, it would be naive of him to think that he could take it by force and gain something for nothing. After a while, Randang seemed to have finally made up his mind. He waved his hand with a pained expression and threw out a few treasures. He said to Fang Qingshan, "Taoist, look at these things. Can they be exchanged for the sea-calming pearl?" Fang Qingshan's eyes lit up when he saw the treasures in front of him. He originally thought that Randang did not have anything good other than the spirit coffin lamp and the heaven-measuring ruler. However, he did not expect that he had underestimated him. There were still 3,000 nails in a broken ship, let alone Randang. Although he did not catch up to Sanqing, Dongwang Dijun, and the other Khanate gods, he was still a guest of the ancient Purple Cloud Palace and an old monster who had experienced the great Magi demon tribulation. Chapter 470. After a while, Randang left Fang Qingshan's room with a tinge of excitement and a tinge of regret. What about Fang Qingshan? He played with a string of pearls and looked at the treasures in front of him. He couldn't help but feel excited. Of course, the pearl in his hand wasn't the five-element spirit pearl, but the sea-calming divine pearl. Given Ronding's wealth, how could it compare to the sea-calming divine pearl unless he used the coffin lamp to exchange for it? In the end, Fang Qingshan and Randang thought of a compromise. The sea-calming divine pearl was different from other numinous treasures anyway. It was a set of numinous treasures that could be separated. Hence, Fang Qingshan decided to trade 12 sea-calming divine pearls with Randang. Although the 12 sea-calming divine pearls couldn't be compared to 24, they were still middle-grade, connate numinous treasures and were enough to open up the heavens. Of course, although he had only exchanged for a middle-grade, connate numinous treasure, Randang probably didn't have anything else on him other than the coffin lamp, the cosmic ruler, and the sea-calming divine pearl. The reason why Fang Qingshan was only willing to trade 12 sea-calming divine pearls with Randang was that Randang couldn't take out the corresponding treasures, and Fang Qingshan had other thoughts. After all, he had the chessboard of heavens and could traverse the universe. Besides, the desolation world had long been opened, but he hadn't been able to go there because of his cultivation level. If Fang Qingshan went to the desolation world in the future, he might have a chance to obtain 24 sea-calming divine pearls. If that was the case, the set of numinous treasures would be complete with the 12 sea-calming divine pearls in his hand. The 36 sea-calming divine pearls were comparable to the mountain river map, the red embroidered ball, and the God Slayer. They were the best connate numinous treasures. Of course, that would also depend on the opportunities in the future. Now, looking at the items in front of him, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but be excited. Randang had used a total of 8 treasures to exchange for the 12 sea-calming divine pearls. What made Fang Qingshan the most happy was that there was actually a trunk of the ancient tree. This tree trunk was comparable to the fragment of the world tree used to refine the key of the desolate god. If he allowed his world tree to devour this piece of world wood, it would probably experience another round of crazy growth. Apart from the world tree fragment, there were also 2 connate spiritual treasures, gentle wind pouch and soul suppressing nail. Of course, these 2 Dharma treasures were only inferior grade connate spiritual treasures. The modest wind pouch was a wind-type offensive spirit treasure. It could release innate astral winds, which was not bad. The soul-suppressing nail was also known as the coffin nail. Randang was the first coffin in the world, so it was not surprising that he had this item. Apart from 2 inferior-grade connate spiritual treasures, there was also a spiritual root Bodhi tree. This should be the most precious. Of course, this was not the top-notch metal innate spiritual root among the 10 great innate spiritual roots of desolation. It was Zhuani's true form, the Bodhi tree. Instead, he was a descendant of the Bodhi tree. He had been nurtured into an inferior-grade connate spirit root by Randang. Although it was only an inferior-grade connate spiritual root, it was extraordinary. It was nurtured from the 2nd generation of seeds. If there were enough resources, it might even be nurtured into a superior grade or supreme grade one. There was also a fruit, a flame, a book, and a promise. The fruit was of the same lineage as the Bodhi tree. It was a Bodhi seed that was as famous as the ginseng fruit and the immortal peach. It was a metal-type treasure. The flame was a spark that Randang had split from his true form, the coffin lamp. It was comparable to the most authentic true sun fire and Nanmingli fire. It was a fire-type treasure. Fang Qingshan cultivated the Tao of the 5 elements, so these 2 treasures complemented each other. The heavenly book was also a rare treasure. It actually recorded the 3,000 Yellow Quartz Sutra that Randang had listened to in the Purple Cloud Palace. Although these items were precious, they could not be compared to the 12 sea-calming divine pearls. After all, the sea-calming divine pearls were 12 inferior-grade connate spiritual treasures, not to mention that they were all middle-grade connate spiritual treasures. Needless to say, after taking away the 12 sea-calming divine pearls, the originally top-grade connate numinous treasures instantly became middle-grade. The loss was huge. Therefore, in the end, Fang Qingshan asked Randang for a promise, or rather, an oath. As usual, he would give him a layer of luck in the future. That was because Fang Qingshan did not believe in Randang. After all, the Western sect had learned from their mistakes. Back then, when the Purple Cloud Palace began to lecture, Daozu had set up 6 meditation cushions. They were originally occupied by Sanqing, Niuhua, Kuan-Peng, and Hong Yun. Later on, Hong Yun gave the opportunity to attain the Tao to Zhuni. What did he get in exchange? It was a fatal disaster. What were the two people in the Western sect doing? They were watching from the sidelines. Therefore, Fang Qingshan made Randang swear an oath. If he went against his promise, he would be entangled by karma. Not only would he never be able to prove his Tao, but his cultivation level would also weaken day by day. Randang was originally unwilling to make such a deadly oath. However, now, Randang was begging Fang Qingshan, not Fang Qingshan. For the sake of the Tao Enlightenment treasure, Randang could only pinch his nose and accept it in the end. However, at the same time, he changed the first layer to half a layer. However, even so, Fang Qingshan had made a huge profit, although he had lost the sea calming pearl, causing the top-grade Khanate numinous treasure to fall to the middle grade. This was only temporary. He might be able to recover after going to Desolation in the future and become a true supreme-grade Khanate numinous treasure in one go. The most important thing was luck. After Randang joined the Buddhist sect, he truly began to make a fortune. He took advantage of the prosperity of the Buddhist sect to open up the 24 worlds and become the ancient Buddha of Randang. He could even compete with the current Buddha, Shakyamuni. The Buddhist sect was a great sect that would suppress the celestial sect of wonders in the future. One could imagine how rich his luck was. As the top higher-ups and the top experts, how much luck did Randang have? Even if it was only half a layer, it was probably more than what he could obtain as imperial teacher Ziwei. Dong, dong, dong. At that moment, the sound of war drums suddenly came from outside the house. Fang Qingshan raised his eyebrows. He knew that Zhao Gongming should have returned from borrowing treasures from the Three Immortal Island. Hence, he waved his hand, and through the creation would fragment into the Khanate small world for the world tree to devour. The Bodhi tree was also planted in it. The other spiritual items, numinous treasures, and heavenly book were temporarily put away. He pushed the door open and walked out, just in time to lead the troops out of West Qi with Jiang Ziya and the others. As expected, he saw Zhao Gongming riding a black tiger and cursing under the city. Fang Qingshan, you treacherous villain. Last time, I didn't want to make things difficult for you for the sake of the three sects and one family. I didn't expect that you would collude with the people of the Chan school to plot against my treasure. Today, if you return it to me, I'll let it go. Otherwise, I'll definitely make you walk through the investiture of the gods. All is fair in war. I'm not as skilled as others, so why say so much? Fang Qingshan replied indifferently. Since the treasure had already fallen into his hands, how could he exchange it back? Moreover, even if he wanted to return it now, Randang would not be willing. Chapter 471. Exactly. A dignified golden immortal like you had your treasure seized by a loose immortal, yet you actually have the nerve to boast shamelessly here? You're simply a disgrace. Randang immediately echoed when he heard that. After all, this matter was closely related to him. If Fang Qingshan couldn't withstand the pressure and really wanted to return the sea-calming divine pearl, what would he do? Hand it over? This was absolutely impossible. If he did not hand it over, he would have a death feud with GS School. He did not know the final outcome of GS School. How dare you bully me? Hearing this, Zhao Gongming was instantly enraged, his hair standing on end. This was the last thing he wanted to hear right now. It was simply an extraordinary humiliation, a stain that could never be washed away. As the saying goes, don't hit people in the face when you beat them, and don't expose their shortcomings when you scold them. Randang's words were undoubtedly rubbing salt on Zhao Gongming's wound. However, seeing that Zhao Gongming was burning with anger, he did not say anything and directly took out the supreme treasure that he had borrowed from his sister from the Three Immortal Island. For a moment, two huge dragons could be seen soaring into the sky, one black and one white, moving back and forth in the sky. Auspicious clouds protected their bodies, their heads together like scissors, their tails intertwined like a pair of strands. The murderous aura was shocking, It seemed to be even more ferocious than the evil chi in the 10-terminal formation. Golden Dragon's Scissors. Although it was not a connate spirit treasure, its power was not inferior to the sky-flipping seal. Back then, before the three Xiao immortals and Zhao Gongming had acknowledged him as their master, they had encountered two primordial giant dragons, one yin and one yang, one black and one white. They harvested the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and absorbed the essence of the sun and moon. However, they were unparalleled in killing and committing all sorts of evil. They were not inferior to the four ancient ferocious beasts at all. If you always walk by the river, your shoes will get wet. One time, just as he was about to harm Zhao Gongming and the three firmament fairies, he happened to run into Tong Tian. Then tragedy struck them. They were directly killed by Tong Tian and used their bodies to refine this acquired spiritual treasure. After the three Xiao immortals acknowledged him as their master, he gave it to Qiong Xiao. The sword was unsheathed, and it would not return until it saw blood. That was why the three firmament fairies didn't use it often. This time, it was because Zhao Gongming had lost the sea-calming pearl, so he went to borrow the treasure. However, Yin Xiao wanted to listen to her teacher and let Zhao Gongming return first. After the great calamity, the two of them would help Zhao Gongming retrieve the treasure. However, it was unknown whether it was because of the tribulation chi or because of his pride. In any case, Zhao Gongming refused to accept it and left in a huff. At that moment, Immortal Han Ji arrived. With just a few words, she made Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao blush. Seeing that Yin Xiao still did not speak, Qiong Xiao could not stand it anymore. Seeing that her sister did not want to borrow the primordial chaos golden chalice, she lent her golden flood dragon scissors. Time and fate were the same. One really wasn't afraid of a godlike opponent, but one was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Yin Xiao would have been fine, but with Zhao Gongming's pig teammates, he was dragged into the water. Let's not talk about this for now. Seeing the golden flood dragon scissors in the air, for a moment, the sun and moon couldn't be full, and the heavens and earth shook. Seeing this scene, be it Dipankara, Guangchengzi, or the others, all of them were shocked. Without thinking about anything else, he either used his escape light or his escape technique, escaping with lightning speed. Of course, Fang Qingshan was the quickest to react. The moment Zhao Gongming used the golden flood dragon scissors, Fang Qingshan used the major teleportation technique to return to Shiqi City. That was also the reason why he managed to escape. Otherwise, once Zhao Gongming took out the golden flood dragon scissors, he could forget about escaping. As for taking out the treasure fall coin, he could not even think about it. Previously, the reason why he could use the sea-calming divine pearl was because Zhao Gongming was caught off guard. The treasure fall coin was indeed powerful, but he had to take it out. He had to have a Dharma treasure that could hit him. With Fang Qingshan's cultivation level, his essence soul could not keep up with his speed. If he really thought that everything would be fine with the treasure fall coin, he would probably be cut into two before he could even take out the treasure. After returning to Shiqi City, Randang, Guangchengzi, and the others could not help but look at each other. They could see the lingering fear in each other's eyes. What should we do now? After a while, Guangchengzi asked. I didn't expect that we would have a pair of ferocious scissors right after we broke the sea-calming pearl. We're really unlucky this year. Junior Brother Fang, didn't you say that your treasure fall coin can drop anything below a connate cardinal treasure? Why didn't you attack today? Daoist Ci Heng said unhappily. The treasure fall coin can indeed drop the scissors. However, no matter how good the treasure is, it depends on the person using it. Fang Qingshan smiled bitterly. With my cultivation level, I can't completely refine the treasure fall coin. Fang Qingshan did not avoid it at all. With his identity as a disciple of Ren's school, he did not have to worry about others coveting his treasures. Moreover, even if I completely refine it, my essence soul won't be able to react at all. The reason why I was able to break the sea-calming divine pearl the previous time was because Zhao Gongming did not think of that at all. Moreover, he showed mercy because of my identity. However, I'm afraid it won't work this time. Fang Qingshan shrugged. Don't talk about showing mercy. I'm afraid Zhao Gongming can't wait to eat my flesh and sleep with me. Although everyone had already guessed that, they could not help but sigh when they heard Fang Qingshan's words. Just as Guang Chengzi and the others were at their wits' end, Randang and Fang Qingshan were sitting calmly. Randang did not take that matter to heart at all. Now that he had obtained the sea-calming divine pearl, he was focused on how to achieve the Tao. How could he care about Zhao Gongming? What about Fang Qingshan? However, he knew that although the golden flood dragon scissors were sharp, Zhao Gongming could not flaunt his might for long. Soon, someone would come to destroy him. Indeed, not long after, they heard a servant report that a Taoist outside wanted to see them. Then, a Tao song entered everyone's ears. Hongjun came first, and then the sky. Luya is still before Hongjun. He's only 18 years old this year. An epoch is a year. Hearing that, the expressions of Randang, Guang Chengzi, and the others changed immediately. Good heavens, he was even in front of Hongjun. Wouldn't that mean that he was several generations higher than them? Isn't he taking advantage of us? How arrogant. Everyone walked out to take a look and saw a Taoist wearing a 10,000 crows flame, worshipping robe with a yellow skin gourd on his waist, standing at the door calmly and speaking calmly. Whether I'm arrogant or not doesn't depend on my voice, but on whether I can solve the problem. If I can solve the problem, it's not arrogance, but confidence. Oh, does this Taoist have a way to solve the current problem of West Qi? The others might not know Luya, but Fang Qingshan knew a little about him. That person should be Luya, the prince of the ancient demon race. He was the only son left after Ho Ishat the Sun. He was the only successor of the three-legged golden crow and the future Buddhist Mahavairocana. He had a cultivation base, a background, and a Dharma treasure. The only thing that Fang Qingshan could not figure out was that he did not know what was wrong with Luya. He actually dared to shout such arrogant words. Wasn't he afraid of karma with Hongjun? Chapter 472. Actually, what Fang Qingshan did not know was that immortal Luya was no longer the immortal Luya of the past. It was said that the fuse of the great shaman-demon war was the 10 suns in the sky. After Ho Yi killed 9 people, only Luya was left. Luya was also considered a person with great luck. Otherwise, with the huge karma of the 10 suns in the sky, Ho Yi shot the sun and 9 of his 10 brothers died, but he survived. Not only did he survive, but he was also bound to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster. Luya actually met one of the 4 spirits of creation, the fire spirit. The primal chaos shattered, and there were the 4 elements of earth, wind, water, and fire. Luya merged with the fire spirit, and that was how his cultivation level rose. Luya was fire spirit, and fire spirit was Luya. Otherwise, even with the guidance of Lady Nuwa, how could he catch up to someone of the older generation like Randang? At the same time, this was also the reason why he dared to say that Hongjun came first, and immortal Luya came before Hongjun. He was not afraid of forming karma with Hongjun. After all, according to the heaven creation fire spirit, he was indeed older than Hongjun. Of course, Luya said confidently. Oh, do you have any ideas? Guang Qingzi couldn't help but ask. Although Luya's arrogance left a bad impression on Guang Chengzi and the rest. However, when they put aside their prejudices and looked at Luya, they could not help but be amazed. That was because immortal Luya's cultivation was not inferior to Ronding's and was even better than Guang Chengzi's. Desolation was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. If you had the strength, people would naturally respect you. I have a secret technique called the Head Nail 7 Arrows book. Luya smiled. As long as a camp is set up, there will be a stage in the camp, and a scarecrow will be formed on the stage, with the name of the enemy written on it. There will be a lamp above its head and another lamp below its feet, and its footsteps will be like that of a celestial, immortal realm cultivator. It will be incinerated using a secret technique, and 3 times a day, at noon on the 21st day, the enemy's 3 souls and 7 spirits will be dispersed. At this time, when an arrow is shot at the scarecrow, it will be like hitting the enemy's body, and the enemy will spit out blood. Even if it is a Daluo Zhuan, there will be no chance of survival. This technique was actually a secret technique of the ancient Wu people. After it was obtained by the demon clan, it was improved upon. However, because it violated the harmony of the heavens like the desolate formation, it was not well known. However, if they succeeded this time, the name of the Nailhead Seven Arrows book would immediately strike fear into people's hearts. During the Great Magi Demon War, apart from Randing, Guang Chengzi and the others had yet to join Chan School. Not to mention Randing, when the liches were in charge of the world, even the sages had to retreat. Therefore, they did not know much about the Seven Arrows book. Even so, Guang Chengzi and the rest treated it as a last resort when they saw Lu Ye's high cultivation and confidence. Lu Ye was supposed to be the one to cast this spell. However, to use this technique, he had to exhaust his own luck. How could he do that? Therefore, he recommended Jiangxia. He was the one who dealt with the cataclysm and controlled the great God-confirming tribulation. He had boundless karmic luck. If he was the one to use this technique, there would be no problem. Regardless of whether it was Randang, Guang Chengzi, or Fang Qingshan, they naturally wouldn't reject it. Firstly, Jiangxia didn't know the depth of it. Secondly, he believed that he was the leader of the great God-confirming tribulation and wasn't afraid of karma. Or rather, he was already used to it. Besides, he couldn't reject it. Therefore, Shi Qi hung the no-fight sign high, and Jiangxia set up the altar on Mount Qi. According to immortal Lu Ya's words, they did the same. The Nailhead Seven Arrows book was indeed worthy of its reputation. In the first 2 days, Zhao Gongming was still cursing outside Shiqi City. However, 3 to 5 days later, Zhao Gongming was nowhere to be seen. Guang Chengzi and the rest were delighted. They hurriedly asked Yang Jian to change his appearance and sneak into Chaoga's camp to investigate. As expected, with just a look, he knew that it was a success. As soon as the Nailhead Seven Arrows book was used, Zhao Gongming felt upset and restless. He originally thought that it was because Shi Qi was avoiding the battle and could not retrieve the sea-calming divine pearl. Zhao Gongming, Wen Zhong, and the rest did not care at all. However, as time passed, Wen Zhong and the rest gradually realized that something was wrong. After a day or two, Zhao Gongming's condition did not improve. Instead, it worsened. He became drowsy and drowsy all day long. He was a zenith heaven golden immortal. He was eternally free in all time and space. Now, such a situation had actually occurred without him knowing. How could Wen Zhong and the rest not know that Zhao Gongming had been plotted against? Especially the remaining 2 of the 10 heavenly lords, they spoke with certainty. After all, the effect of the Nailhead Seven Arrows book was exactly the same as that of the Desolate Array. Since they knew that Zhao Gongming had been plotted against, the most important thing now was to break the plot and save Zhao Gongming. If Zhao Gongming were to die under Shiqi City, it would be a huge matter. Even Wen Zhong would probably be implicated. After all, Zhao Gongming was not only the eldest senior brother of the Outer Sect, but also the Yunxiao sisters. Even his master, the goddess of Golden Spirit, would probably be reprimanded. Wen Zhong hurriedly pinched his fingers to calculate. However, in the current Great Tribulation, he could not calculate anything without thinking about the heavenly secrets. Thus, he sent spies to investigate in Shiqi. After some effort, he finally found out that Jiangxia had set up an altar in Shiqi and used demonic arts. Immediately, he was so angry that he cursed Jiangxia and the others for being sinister villains who only knew how to plot against others. However, he seemed to have forgotten how they had plotted against Fang Qingshan in the Desolate Array. Sure enough, only state officials were allowed to set fires, but ordinary people were not allowed to light lamps. Since he knew the specific location, Wen Zhong immediately called Zhao Gongming's disciples, Chun Jiugong and Yao Shaoxi, to go to Qi Mountain to snatch the Nailhead Seven Arrows book. Unfortunately, Shi Qi had long been prepared for this. As soon as Chun Jiugong and Yao Shaoxi arrived, not only did they not strengthen the scarecrow, but they also walked into the trap of Shi Qi. They were ambushed by Neza and Yang Jian. Wen Zhong and the others waited in the camp for a long time, but they did not see Chan Zhugong and Yao Shaoxi return. They had a bad feeling and were about to send someone to investigate. At this moment, Zhao Gongming, who had been in a coma for many days, suddenly woke up. Seeing this, Wen Zhong and the others did not feel happy. Instead, they became even more sad. That was because they knew that Zhao Gongming had a sudden epiphany. On the contrary, Zhao Gongming seemed to have seen through the mystery of life and death. So he comforted Wen Zhong and the others. Alas, I regret not listening to Sect Master and eldest sister. That's why I'm in trouble today. I think it's also a punishment from heaven. It's a pity that I've cultivated the Tao fruit of the zenith heaven during the era of the heavenly emperor. Today, my years of hard work will be in vain. I'm really not willing to accept this. Wen Zhong's words made one feel like wringing one's wrist and tearing up. In particular, Wen Zhong felt extremely guilty. If it weren't for him, Zhao Gongming would not have suffered today. Seeing this, Zhao Gongming comforted him again. Then, he told Wen Zhong to send the golden flood dragon scissors back to 3 Immortal Island and told Yun Xiao and the others not to take revenge for him. As soon as he finished speaking, he fainted again. Chapter 473 East Ocean, 3 Immortal Island. Ever since Xiong Xiao lent the golden flood dragon scissors to Zhao Gongming, Yun Xiao had been feeling uneasy. Under the sudden inspiration, he felt a murderous aura descending upon him, causing him to feel uneasy. It should be known that Yun Xiao's cultivation was not inferior to Guang Chengzi's at all. At their cultivation realm, they had already reached the stage where they could sense the autumn wind before it moved. He had a slight expectation of the bad things that were about to happen. If he could seize the opportunity, he might be able to sense danger and avoid it. Yun Xiao originally had a chance to avoid the calamity, but because her providence was connected to Zhao Gongming of Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao, she was implicated. The moment Zhao Gongming was killed by Liu Ye's 7 Arrows book, the 3 Yun Xiao sisters sensed it. Wow! The 3 of them opened their mouths and spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their faces were deathly pale. Big brother! Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao cried out in alarm. Although Yun Xiao did not cry out, she closed her eyes and 2 streams of tears flowed down. How many years has it been? The brother and sister depended on each other. If it weren't for Zhao Gongming's protection, before they had taken on a human form and before they had acknowledged him as their master, they would have suffered a lot more. In fact, Zhao Gongming had even sacrificed his foundation in order to take care of them during the tribulation. Otherwise, with his talent, he might have been able to become one of the 4 great inner court disciples. Yet today he had left first. How could the 3 sky fairies not feel pained? Who is it? Who could it be? Who killed Big Brother? Revenge. No matter who it is, this debt of blood must be paid with blood. When Xiong Xiao and Bai Xiao recovered from the shock of Zhao Gongming's death, a strong desire to take revenge that could not be delayed at all filled their minds. Big sister. The 2 of them turned to look at Yun Xiao at the same time, the meaning in their eyes clear. He just wanted to ask Yun Xiao if she wanted to avenge Zhao Gongming with them. After all, Yun Xiao had a previous record. She had rejected Zhao Gongming's request to borrow the treasure. However, Yun Xiao could only smile bitterly when she saw the look in her 2 younger sisters' eyes. At this point, what else could she say? In fact, the outcome was already decided the moment Big Brother left the mountain. Otherwise, how could she disregard their sibling relationship for so many years? He even watched helplessly as Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao courted death. Let's go. Let's go to West Qi and see who is so powerful that Big Brother, who has the golden flood dragon scissors, doesn't even have a chance to escape. Without further ado, Yun Xiao brought Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao, whose eyes were filled with hatred, to Shiqi. On the way, he happened to run into Wen Zhong, who was returning Zhao Gongming's corpse and the golden flood dragon scissors. Big Brother. At the sight of Zhao Gongming's corpse, the 3 firmament fairies were heartbroken once again. They pounced on Zhao Gongming's corpse and cried their hearts out, tears falling like rain. When they heard Zhao Gongming advise them not to take revenge, they were on the verge of collapsing. When the three sky fairies finally calmed down, they asked about Zhao Gongming's death. The sadness that had just fallen was immediately covered by a thick wave of anger. Luya, Jiangxia, I want you to pay with your blood. Xiong Xiao and Bai Xiao gritted their teeth and said word by word. The two of them could not wait any longer. They immediately arrived at West Qi City and asked to see Jiangxia and Luya. I didn't expect it to be junior sisters Yun Xiao. Greetings, junior sisters, Guang Chengzi. Guang Chengzi was stunned when he saw the three firmament fairies. However, he immediately greeted them. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Qiong Xiao. Junior sister? We can't afford to do that. Qiong Xiao replied coldly and ignored Guang Chengzi's ugly expression. Who is Jiangxia and who is Luya? I'm Jiangxia. Greetings, aunties. I'm Luya. Greetings, aunties. Jiangxia and Luya took a step forward and greeted. Did my brother, Zhao Gongming, die in your hands? A trace of killing intent flashed in Qiong Zhao's eyes. Fellow Taoist Zhao, although Jiangxia wanted to explain when he saw that, but he was immediately interrupted by Qiong Xiao. You just have to answer yes or no. Jiangxia choked. He looked at Luya and nodded. He did not deny it. He could not deny it. All right. In that case, there's nothing wrong with that. As soon as he finished speaking, Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao attacked at the same time. Qiong Xiao took out the golden flood dragon scissors and saw two primordial yin-yang flood dragons rising in the sky and moving up and down. Auspicious clouds protected their bodies. Their heads were like scissors, and their tails were intertwined. They cut at Luya. The power was simply unstoppable. Bai Xiao took out a seven-colored rainbow damask and whipped it at Jiangxia. The rainbow light ribbon was a superior grade, connate numinous treasure. It was similar to the heavenly silk of chaos, but its grade was much higher. Not only could it be used as a dragon-binding rope to bind people and transform into a beam of light, but it could also be used as a whip to whip people. The two of them attacked with hatred. They really understood the true meaning of speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness. Guang Qingzi and the others clearly did not expect Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao to attack without saying a word. It was already too late for them to remind and attack. Fortunately, Li was not easy to deal with. Seeing that the golden flood dragon scissors were about to land, he could not dodge in time. He immediately patted the yellow-skinned gourd on his waist and called out, "Treasure, please turn around." As soon as he finished speaking, a saber beam that could slay heaven and earth flew out. Boom! A loud sound shook heaven and earth. The entire space shattered and turned into a black hole. Although Luya had only attacked in a hurry, the power of the immortal slaying flying saber was not to be underestimated. With such a block, he immediately had a chance to catch his breath. As soon as he used the rainbow transformation technique, he immediately escaped. On Jiangxia's side, although Bai Zhao's cultivation level was not comparable to Yun Xiao, Zhao Gongming, and the others, she was not inferior to perfected Huanglong. She had a primordial unity cultivation level. Jiangxia could not even react to her hateful attack. The attack had already arrived in front of him. The seven-colored rainbow light ribbon was about to descend. Once it struck, Jiangxia would probably be smashed into pieces. Fortunately, his cultivation level was low, and he had a supreme treasure to protect himself. Buzz! An apricot yellow flag rose above Jiangxia's head. It fluttered in the wind, and golden lotuses descended. It was a top-notch connate defensive numinous treasure, the yellow apricot flag. The treasure had a spirit. It sensed that Jiangxia was in danger and automatically protected its master. Although Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao had caught him off guard, they returned empty-handed. The two of them wanted to continue attacking, but they immediately angered Guang Chengzi and the others. They could not care less about bullying him with their numbers and immediately attacked. At that moment, the heaven upheaval seal, the cosmic ruler, the yin-yang mirror, the nine dragons' divine fire barrier, the five flames, seven birds fan, the white jade bottle, the immortal binding rope, and other supreme treasures attacked the three Xiao immortals. Be careful! Yin Xiao was shocked when she saw that. She hurriedly took out the primordial chaos golden chalice and protected Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao as she retreated. Chapter 474. 12 Golden Immortals, Dipankara, Immortal Luya, and Jiangxia were attacking together. Even a quasi-sage would not be able to handle this, let alone the 3 firmament fairies. Although Yun Xiao saw the opportunity early and used the primordial chaos golden chalice, a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure, to protect herself, the primordial chaos golden chalice was unable to withstand it. But in the end, he still suffered a great loss. Other magic treasures were fine. Even Guangchengzi's post-celestial treasure, the sky flipping seal, could not hurt Yin Xiao at once. On the other hand, Jiangxia's god-striking whip had almost severely injured the 3 sky fairies. In the end, the famous people on the divine seal decree were too restrained by this treasure. When had the 3 Xiao immortals ever suffered such a huge loss? Not only did he fail to avenge his big brother, but he also almost died in the hands of the most inconspicuous enemy. Not to mention Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao. Even Yin Xiao could not take it lying down. Zhao Gongming was different. With the sea calming pearl, Zhao Gongming was like a tiger that had grown wings. Without the sea calming pearl, Zhao Gongming was like an angel with broken wings. Yin Xiao, on the other hand, was different. Not only did she have a supreme treasure, but she was also good at formations. In the Jie school, there was probably no one who dared to say that formation surpassed her, not even many treasures. Seeing that Guangchengzi and the others were bullying them with their numbers, she immediately asked Wen Zhong to summon 500 soldiers to practice the Yellow River of 9 Rivers formation. In this world, there was nothing better than formations that could defeat the many and defeat the strong with the weak. The evil formation of a Yellow River was divided into 3 parts, and the immortals would suffer from this calamity. Fortune was hidden in the 9 tunes, and wind and thunder were hidden in the 3 bays. Cursing the cultivators of the land garden, who had formed a holy embryo on the Tao spirit platform. Encountering the head sex rebirth, he realized that the heretical path could not be used as a matchmaker. As soon as this formation was activated, a chilly wind blew and a black fog filled the air, obscuring the sun and moon. It was leisurely and indistinct. A miserable aura soared into the sky, and a haze covered the earth. Not to mention entering the formation, just looking at it from afar made one feel as if a great disaster was about to befall them. What entered one's eyes was stagnant tribulation energy, baleful energy like blades, murderous energy like swords, and bloody light like an ocean. It was inexplicably dangerous, and it was worlds apart from the previous 10 terminal formation. Naturally, this did not mean that the 9 Yellow River formation was more powerful than the 10 terminal formation. Just like magic treasures, formations also depended on the person using them. Although the 10 Heaven Lords had mastered the 10 absolute formation and had great power, they could only unleash 20% to 30% of its true power. It was not considered casting pearls before swine, but it was just so. Yin Xiao was different. Not only was her cultivation incomparable to the 10 Heaven Monarchs, but her control of the 9 Bends Yellow River formation was also worlds apart from them. In addition, the 3 sisters also had the primordial chaos golden chalice, the golden flood dragon scissors, and the 7-colored rainbow light damask in their hands. The might of the 9 Bends Yellow River formation was almost fully unleashed. Even if a quasi-sage were to come here, he would only be defeated. Although the formation was dangerous, what else could Guangchengzi and the others do since 3 Xiao immortals had already drawn the Tao? He could only think of a way to break the formation. Firstly, they could not weaken the momentum of the clan of enlightenment. Otherwise, if others knew that the dignified deputy sect leader of the clan of enlightenment and the 12 golden immortals were frightened by the formation of a disciple of the clan of severity, the primeval Lord of Heaven would not let them off easily. Moreover, Shichi's attack on the Shang dynasty was done by the saints on behalf of the heavens. It was also the will of the heavens. If Cloud Sky and the others were to block them here, the crusade would not be able to continue. Once the important matter was delayed, it would also be difficult to explain to the primeval Lord of Heaven. Unlike Randang, Guang Qingzi, and the others who were frowning, Fang Qingshan was a little excited at the moment. The Nine Bins Yellow River Formation was about to appear. When he was in the immortal world, he had also obtained a middle-grade Dao artifact from Fang Han. The Nine Bins Yellow River Formation was the Dharma treasure of the Heaven Elder of the Emergent Sect and the Master of Hua, Tiandu, Ruizi. The reason why he had asked for this Dharma treasure, but had put it on the shelf all these years, was to wait for this day. He wanted to use this Dao artifact as the foundation of the formation to re-practice the Nine Bins Yellow River Formation. During the Great God-Conferment Tribulation, there were 4 formations that were famous. The first was the 10 Extremes, the second was the 9 Bins, the third was the Fairy Slaying, and the fourth was the 10,000 Immortals. There was no need to talk about the Immortal Vanquishing Sword Array. Although the power of this array formation was the best in Desolation and was comparable to the 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiend Array and the Zodion Star Array, its shortcomings were also very obvious. If he wanted to set up the Zodion Star Array, he would need a Connate Cardinal Treasure or at least a top-notch deduction Numinous Treasure to suppress the array formation. He would also need hundreds of experts to assist him. After the 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiend Array, he had not seen it again after the 12 Zhu Wu. As for the Immortal Vanquishing Sword Array, he would not be able to set it up without the Immortal Vanquishing Sword and the other 4 killing swords. Its power would also be greatly reduced. The 10,000 Immortal Array and the Zodion Star Array had the same problem. They needed many people to set it up. The more people there were, the more powerful it would be. It was impossible for Fang Qingshan to snatch the 4 killing swords and the Immortal Vanquishing Sword Array diagram. It was impossible even if he was a direct disciple of Rin School. That way, he would have to form karma with the Grandmaster of Heaven. Fang Qingshan did not build any forces in the 10,000 Immortal Array, so it was basically useless. Therefore, he could only plot against the 10 Absolutes and 9 Songs. Although the 10 Absolutes Array might not be much different from the 9 Bins Yellow River Array in terms of grade. However, because of the 10 Heavenly Lords, Fang Qingshan felt that the 9 Bins Yellow River Array was better. After all, he had even broken 2 of the 10 Absolute Arrays of the 10 Heavenly Lords. As long as his cultivation level reached a certain level, he could basically break the array by using the Sacrificial Array. There were too many flaws. However, the 9 Bins Yellow River Array was different. In the hands of the 3 Shao Immortals, none of the 12 Golden Immortals could escape. If Randang and Liu Ye had not reacted quickly, they would probably have ended up worse than the 12 Golden Immortals. This array formation is based on the 3 talents and contains the mysteries of heaven and earth. It contains the Immortal Bewitching Pill and the Immortal Seclusion Mantra. It can lose the Immortal's spirit, vanish the Immortal's soul, trap the Immortal's form, damage the Immortal's chi, lose the Immortal's original form, and damage the Immortal's limbs. When Immortals enter this place, they become mortals. When mortals enter this place, they will die. There is no straightness in the 9 Bins. The bins are filled with the wonders of creation and the secrets of immortals. Even the saints of the 3 sects can't escape. Yun Shao introduced the 9 Bins Yellow River Array to Guang Chengzi and the others confidently, and then waved her hand. "Everyone, please." Seeing that, Randang did not immediately break the array. Instead, he asked Zhang Zia to lead the 3rd-generation disciples of the Chan School to explore the way first. He wanted to find out the truth of the 9 Bins Yellow River Array. Unfortunately, the idea was beautiful, but the reality was not satisfactory. Zhang Zia led Yang Jian, Neza, Jinjia, Huang Tianhua, and the others into the array. Apart from Zhang Zia, who managed to escape with the Jade Void Apricot Yellow Flag, the others fell into the array and were captured by Yun Shao with the Primordial Chaos Golden Chalice. Seeing that, Randang had no choice but to lead the 12 golden immortals into the 9 bins Yellow River array. It's over. All the karma will end today. Looking at Randang, Guang Chengzi, and the others entering, Yun Xiao muttered to herself. The 9 bins Yellow River array was slowly activated. The endless Yellow River began to dance. An endless evil aura surged with the operation of the array. It's finally coming. A murderous aura shot into the clouds like a pillar that supported the sky. Even the Lingxiao treasure hall shook. However, the Jade Emperor was not angry. Instead, there was a smile on his lips. Chapter 475. It's hard for the deities to come, but they cut off the 3 flowers on the top of their heads. Even if the Buddha comes, the 5 energies in the chest will be eliminated. When encountering this formation, it is difficult to escape. When encountering him, how can a Taoist master hide? When Randang and the others were outside the formation, they also felt that the formation was ferocious. However, when they entered it, they realized that they had underestimated it. The entire sky was filled with yellow sand, twisting and turning. After entering the formation, not to mention eyesight, even the power of one's essence soul was useless. The mud and sand fell, and everything was chaotic. It was like a real, primordial river. Not only did the yellow sand and flowing water confuse one's sense of direction, but they could also slowly corrode one's body and absorb magic power. In other words, without a defensive treasure, even if Yun Xiao didn't use the primordial chaos golden dipper and the 3 flowers above her head, the 5 chi in her chest would be worn out sooner or later. However, with the primordial chaos golden chalice, the effect was immediate. The primordial chaos golden dipper was a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure. Even if it couldn't compare to the Khanate 5-direction flags and the 12 lotus platforms, it was probably a top-notch existence. The world's #1 toilet bowl was best at polluting one's magic treasures, magic power, and primordial spirit. This battle grew out from the opening of the heavens and contained the 3 powers of heaven and earth. It contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. Karma was unknown, tribulations were not apparent, and divine abilities were unknown, filling the entire universe and the 4 seas, allowing him to collect all the treasures. It was a perfect match for the Yellow River of 9 bins formation. As soon as Randang and the others entered the Yellow River array formation, they felt dizzy. Then they saw yellow sand all around them. There was no one else but them. Immediately, his heart throbbed. They wanted to gather together. There was strength in numbers. However, how could Yun Xiao let them have their way? He was about to attack them one by one. After separating Randang and the others, Yun Xiao took out the primordial chaos golden chalice and swept it towards perfected yellow dragon, perfected Yu Ding, Taoist Wen Shu, Taoist Samanapadra, Taoist numinous treasure, and the others. Every shot was accurate. Even Guang Chengzi did not struggle for long in the face of the primordial chaos golden dipper that was enhanced by the array formation. Although he had a postnatal treasure like the sky-throwing seal, the Luo Pabel, the male and female swords, the awe-sweeping robe, and other Khanate spiritual treasures. In just a short while, the 12 golden immortals of Chan School were all taken into the primordial chaos golden chalice by Yun Xiao. At the same time, Xiong Xiao summoned the golden flood dragon scissors and charged towards Luya and Randang. However, the 2 of them were already prepared. Not only did they not enter the formation, but when they saw that the situation was not good, they immediately took out their spiritual treasures to protect themselves, turned around, and fled. Big sister, what are you still hesitating for? We're already being merciful by not killing them. Xiong Xiao and Bai Xiao were a little dejected after failing to capture Luya and Randang. However, they could not vent their anger. Hence, they shifted their targets to Guang Chengzi and the others. In the beginning, Xiong Xiao and Bai Xiao suggested that Yun Xiao use the primordial chaos golden chalice to deal with Randang and Luya. After all, the 2 of them were very scheming and had extraordinary methods. Not to mention, their cultivations were profound. They would deal with Guang Chengzi and the others. However, it was rejected by Yun Xiao. Yin Xiao still maintained a certain level of rationality. She knew that the Chan school only had 12 direct disciples. Losing any one of them would result in heavy casualties. If the Ruthless by Xiao Qiong Xiao took action, most of the 12 golden immortals would be killed. At that time, it would be difficult to explain. Therefore, she decided to use the primordial chaos golden dipper to deal with Guang Chengzi and the others. That way, she could dispel the hostility in her sister's hearts. At the same time, she would not go overboard. After all, she had only reduced her cultivation level. As long as she was fine, she could start from the beginning. However, she did not expect that this matter would affect the Heavenly Lord of Primordial beginning so much. He actually attacked her personally. Of course, Yin Xiao did not know that. Under Qiong Xiao and by Zhao's urging, Yin Zhao's expression changed. She activated her Dharma powers and rotated the primordial chaos golden dipper gently. Crack, crack! In an instant, Guang Chengzi and the others screamed. If someone looked through the primordial chaos golden dipper, they would discover that the 3 lotus flowers above Guang Chengzi and the others' heads that represented essence, energy, and spirit had shattered. The 5 white waves in their chest had also vanished. Bitch, you will die a horrible death. Guang Chengzi and the others had no idea that Yun Xiao would be so vicious and bold as to cripple their cultivation bases. At that moment, apart from being confused and pained, they also had a hatred for Yun Xiao that could not be extinguished. Kunlun Mountain, Jade Void Palace. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning, who had his eyes closed and was on a mental journey, suddenly opened them. A cold glint shone in his eyes. Good, good, good. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning was so angry that he laughed. He said good 3 times. However, the killing intent and coldness in his tone made the white crane child, who was serving him, shiver as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Set off to West Qi. After a while, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning regained his composure and said calmly to the white crane child, Okay, as the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning's mount, the 4 odd beasts had already been given to Jiang Zia. The white crane child hurriedly drove the 9 dragon agarwood chariot out. After inviting the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning to board the chariot, the white crane child personally drove the dragon chariot towards West Qi. West Qi. Jiang Zia was shocked when he saw that only Lu Ye and Randang had escaped. Teacher Randang, where's senior brother Guang Chengzi and the rest? Randang could not help but feel a little awkward when he heard that. They might have fallen into an array formation. Huh? Although he was already mentally prepared, Jiang Zia could not help but be shocked when he heard Randang's words. For a moment, he was at a loss. What should we do? What should we do now? I'm afraid the only way now is for the Prime Minister to go to Kunlun Mountain and ask Second Uncle Master for help. Fang Qingshan, who was standing aside, said, Yes, yes, yes. Go to Kunlun Mountain and ask teacher for help. Hearing Fang Qingshan's words, Jiang Zia nodded repeatedly. Without hesitation, he led the 4 odd beasts and was about to leave. That's not necessary. At this moment, Randang suddenly spoke with a pale face. He sensed that the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning had arrived in person. Something happened to Guang Chengzi and the rest. Randang immediately knew that Guang Chengzi and the rest were probably in trouble. Otherwise, how could a sage walk in the mortal world lightly? Not long after, purple qi came from the east. Then, a 9 dragon agarwood chariot appeared. There were 9 5-clawed golden dragons coiled around the chariot. When the chariot moved, the 9 5-clawed golden dragons would fly out together to pull the chariot. The chariot was surrounded by mist, and rays of light built a bridge. There was a fragrance, birds sang, phoenixes danced, auspicious clouds supported them, and auspicious beasts flew. A golden lotus flower appeared on each of the 4 wheels of the chariot. There was a glow on the lotus flower, and another lotus flower appeared on the glow. In an instant, thousands of golden lotuses illuminated the universe. It was majestic and colorful. Oh no! At the same time, the expression of Yun Xiao, who was in the 9 bins yellow river array, suddenly changed. She was even paler than Randang. She also sensed the arrival of the heavenly lord of primordial beginning. How is that possible? Why is he here? Big sister, what's wrong? Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao were still immersed in the excitement of capturing the 12 golden immortals in one fell swoop. When they saw Yun Xiao panicking, they hurriedly asked. Chapter 476. Second Uncle Master is here. Yun Xiao said in a panic. Heavenly Lord of primordial beginning? Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao were also shocked when they heard that, but they didn't care much about it and sneered. The younger one can't do it, so the older one is here. Little sister, don't be rash. Yun Xiao's expression changed when she heard that, and she hurriedly reprimanded her. Big sister is too careful, Bai Xiao said indifferently. With a 9-turn yellow river formation, so what if he's a saint? Can't he stop him even if he can't win? As long as we hold on for a while, the sect master will come to save us. Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao were a little arrogant because of the protection of Zhao Gongming and Yun Xiao, as well as the love of the sect master of Tongtian. The 9-turn yellow river formation was indeed powerful. Even in the entire desolation, it was probably second to none other than the 3 ultimate formations. However, even the 3 peerless divine formations of desolation could only fight against a saint. She actually thought that she would be safe with a 9-turn yellow river formation. She was really naive. It was wishful thinking that the sect master of Tongtian would come to rescue them after a period of time. This was a great tribulation, and even a saint could not predict the heavenly secrets. If it was possible, the heavenly lord of primordial beginning would have already taken action when Yun Xiao eliminated the 12 golden immortals and destroyed the 5 qi in her chest. There was no need to wait until now to take revenge. Unless they were dead, the sect master of Tongtian would never know in advance. Yun Xiao looked at her 2 younger sisters who were unaware of the impending disaster and couldn't help but shake her head in disappointment. She blamed herself for failing to educate them all these years and said, "Let's go. Since second Uncle Master is here, let's go out and welcome him." Just as the 3 Xiao immortals were about to go out to welcome him, the 9 dragons' Agarwu chariot had already landed. Dipong, Luya, Jiangzia, and Fang Qingshan hurriedly went to welcome him. Greetings, Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning, Master, Second Uncle Master. The white crane boy lifted the curtain of the chariot. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning glanced at Luya and immediately knew his origin. He didn't say much for Goddess Nua's sake, but Luya still couldn't help but tense up. As for Randang, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning did not even look at him. This time, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning had the 12 golden immortals follow Burning Lamp down the mountain, because he wanted to make Burning Lamp a scapegoat. Now, the scapegoat was fine, but his disciples were all caught in one fell swoop. If not for the fact that he had restrained himself, and if not for the fact that he would lose face as a saint, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning would have wanted to kill Randang. Randang seemed to be able to sense the anger and murderous aura of the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. He did not dare to appear at all. He shrunk his head like a little bird and lowered his presence. After nodding at Jiangzia, the primeval Lord of Heaven looked at Fang Qingshan again. In an instant, Fang Qingshan and immortal Luya felt the same. Under the gaze of the primeval Lord of Heaven, everything about them seemed to be laid out clearly in front of them. Not only that, the gaze seemed to be able to trace the present back to the past. At that moment, a Taiji symbol suddenly appeared above Fang Qingshan's head, obscuring the Heavenly Lord of Heaven's gaze. The Heavenly Lord of Heaven raised his eyebrows. Although he was even more surprised by Fang Qingshan, he did not try to pry again. "Your eldest senior brother's new disciple?" "Yes, I'm Fang Qingshan." "Greetings, second Uncle Master." Fang Qingshan did not expect the Heavenly Lord of Heaven to talk to him, and hurriedly answered, "Yes, since you become eldest senior brother's disciple, you're a disciple of Sanqing. Pangu is the orthodox sect, but your cultivation level is a little low. You have to cultivate diligently in the future and not embarrass your master, said the heavenly Lord of Heaven. Yes, I will follow second Uncle Master's instructions. Fang Qingshan nodded repeatedly. Disciple Yun Xiao / Qiong Xiao / by Xiao greets second Uncle Master. At that moment, the three Xiao immortals walked out of the Nine Bends Yellow River Array and bowed respectfully to the heavenly Lord of Heaven. I don't dare to accept your greetings. The heavenly Lord of Heaven replied coldly. You, Qiong Xiao, and by Xiao were unwilling to begin with. Upon hearing that, they immediately wanted to retreat. When Yun Xiao saw that, she was almost scared out of her wits. It's fine if you say it secretly, but you actually dare to retort in front of me. Do you really think that you're immortal? She hurriedly pulled them and spoke first. Second Uncle Master, you're being too serious. When the heavenly Lord of Heaven heard that, he only glanced at Qiong Xiao and by Xiao indifferently and did not continue to harp on it. Where Guang Chengzi and the others? They're here. Yun Xiao hurriedly took out the primordial chaos golden chalice and released Guang Chengzi and the others. However, with a flash of golden light, Guang Chengzi and the others appeared in front of the heavenly Lord of Heaven. However, there were still disciples of Chan School there. Pangu looked authentic. He looked like a beggar, let alone an immortal. When the heavenly Lord of Heaven saw that, the anger in his heart could not help but burn. Without another word, he waved his sleeve and put Guang Chengzi and the others away, lest they embarrass themselves. The three sects' God conferment is decided by the heavens. Even your teachers do not dare to act rashly. How dare you not abide by the rules and act against the heavens? You're asking to violate the laws of the sect? The heavenly Lord of Heaven turned around and reprimanded. You make it sound nice. Are you the only ones allowed to kill, and we're not allowed to take revenge? This time, Qiong Xiao did not wait for Yun Xiao to speak. That's right. Moreover, the reason why Jie School is called Jie School is because we want to intercept a chance of survival. It's in line with the teachings. It's not against the rules of the sect. You clearly saw Guang Chengzi and the others in trouble and specially took revenge. Bai Xiao echoed. Upon hearing that, Yun Xiao closed her eyes and thought to herself that it was over. All right. Even your teachers do not dare to speak to me like that. How dare you be so impudent? When the heavenly Lord of Heaven heard that, he could not help but laugh in anger. Close the cave door tightly and recite the 3 volumes of the Yellow Court. Enter the West Earth and become famous on the God Roll. It seems that you can't avoid making a trip to the God Roll. It's useless to say anything else. If you have the ability, break our 9 Bends Yellow River Array. Qiong Xiao snorted coldly and turned around to enter the array formation with Bai Xiao. What else could Yun Xiao say when he saw this? He only bowed to the heavenly Lord of Heaven in a hurry and entered the Yellow River Array. If I don't kill the 3 corpses and devour the 6 Qi, I'll waste my time. The heavenly Lord of Heaven shook his head calmly. Let's go and see how the Yellow River Array formation is. As he spoke, the White Crane Child pulled the 9 Dragons' Agarwood carriage into the array formation. Luya and the others hurriedly followed. Kill. Seeing that the heavenly Lord of Heaven had entered the array formation, the 3 Xiao immortals hurriedly unleashed the power of the 9 Bends Yellow River Array to its maximum. Following that, the primordial chaos golden chalice in Yun Xiao's hand shone brightly. With a gentle turn, it arrived above the heavenly Lord of Heaven's head. Qiong Xiao released the golden flood dragon scissors and slashed at the heavenly Lord of Heaven's head. Bai Xiao also took out the 7-colored rainbow belt and whipped it over. Insignificant tricks, the primordial Lord of the beginning said faintly. Chapter 477. Faced with the attack of the 9 Yellow River Formation and the treasures of the 3 firmaments, the primeval Lord of Heaven did not take out any magic treasures, nor did he intercept them. He just pushed his crown and opened the heavenly gate. Inside the clouds, the primordial world loomed, and the sun, moon, and stars shone on it. Inside the clouds, 5-colored light dyed the sky, and celestial music resounded throughout the universe. Outside the clouds, countless golden lamps, golden lotuses, jade necklaces, and beads fell from the clouds, like dripping water in front of the eaves. This was none other than the primeval Lord of Heaven's special ability, the golden cloud lamp. All evils were repelled, and all spells were untouchable. It ignored the attacks of any treasures and weapons, and was immune to the damage of all spells. Its defensive power was not inferior to that of the Wuji apricot flag. For a time, no matter how the yellow sand swept, the golden light shone, or the rainbow light whipped, or the yin and yang cut, it could do nothing to the primeval Lord of Heaven. Not to mention breaking the defense. Even the clouds did not shake, and not even a single golden lotus fell. Good magic! Seeing this scene, Dipamkara and the others exclaimed sincerely. Especially Feng Qingshan. The immortal world walked the path of magic. He cultivated all kinds of magic, many of which were the 3,000 great Tao magic of the immortal world. But whether it was the top 10 great 5 elements technique formed by the 5 Emperors canopy, or the strongest defensive power of the great body protection technique, not to mention being compared to the golden cloud lamp, it could not even be compared. As for his own 5 elements halo and heavenly 5 elements chess, it was even more so. Even the various immortal skills that Feng Qingshan had seen were dwarfed by it. The only thing that could compare to this ability was probably the 3 pure ones in one breath. It's just that that's my unique skill. As expected of the Sanqing sage, his attacks are extraordinary. Feng Qingshan sighed in his heart while staring at the golden cloud lamp without blinking. He did not even hesitate to burn his lifespan, sacrificed the little destiny technique, and even took out the Bodhi wood and Bodhi seed that he had just obtained to strengthen his perception, hoping to learn a little from the golden cloud lamp. Stones from other mountains can be used to improve jade. By analogy, he could perfect and enhance the defensive power of the 5 elements halo and the all-heaven 5-element chess. What other tricks do you have? Feel free to use them. Otherwise, once I make my move, you won't have another chance. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning naturally sensed Feng Qingshan's abnormality. However, on the account that he was a direct disciple of Ren's school and a disciple of Laozi, he only observed and did not go too far. Hence, he ignored him and said calmly to Yun Xiao and the others. Looking at Yuanshi Tianzuan's calm expression, as well as the golden lamp of auspicious cloud, which could not be touched by any spell, Yuanshi Tianzuan felt a chill run down his spine. Although Yun Xiao and the others were furious, they felt helpless and a little sad, especially Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao. This time, they finally understood the saint and felt a little more respect. Unfortunately, it was too late. Their savior, sect master Tongtian, had already felt that something was wrong when honored Lord of Heaven took action. However, he did not predict anything, so he could not come to help in time. For a moment, the heavenly Lord of primordial beginning allowed the 3 Xiao immortals to attack. Unfortunately, not only did they not have any effect, they even exhausted themselves. It seems like you guys are already at your wit's end. Looking at the dispirited 3 Xiao immortals and the others, the heavenly Lord of primordial beginning's eyes flashed. In that case, it's time to end it. As soon as he finished speaking, the heavenly Lord of primordial beginning said calmly, "Freeze!" In an instant, the clouds dispersed and the rain stopped. The dust settled. The wind stopped. The yellow sand fell to the ground. The river stagnated, and the water's surface was like a mirror. The primordial chaos golden chalice, the golden flood dragon scissors, and the 7-colored rainbow belt all stopped in midair. Following that, the heavenly Lord of primordial beginning flicked his sleeve gently and instantly put away the 3 treasures. No! At that moment, he suddenly heard Yin Zhao's panic shout. Then Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao seemed to have been blinded by the tribulation chi or something else. Even though the array formation had been broken and their Dharma treasures had been taken away, they were still unwilling to give up. They raised their swords and attacked the heavenly Lord of primordial beginning. "You're courting death. Killing intent flashed in the heavenly lord of primordial beginning's eyes. He flipped his hand and took out a box. He opened it and shot out a beam of primordial chaos light that swept towards Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao. Without any resistance, the two of them were sucked in. In less than a moment, they turned into blood and a soul headed towards the God-conferment platform. Following that, the heavenly lord of primordial beginning flicked his finger and a Taiji talisman landed on Yun Zhao's forehead. He took out her primordial chaos golden chalice and put it away. He turned around and handed it to the white crane boy. After we return, send it to the Qilin cliff to be suppressed. Yes, I understand. The white crane boy hurriedly took it with both hands and nodded in agreement. In fact, the heavenly lord of primordial beginning was originally unwilling to kill Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao. After all, if he attacked, he would break the rules and bully the weak. It would be embarrassing. However, before an angel died, he would first make him crazy. Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao were courting death. At this moment, they still dared to attack the heavenly lord of primordial beginning personally. Second Uncle Master, may I borrow this item for a period of time? Just as the heavenly lord of primordial beginning put away the array diagram of the 9 bends yellow river array, Fang Qingshan suddenly stepped forward and bowed to the heavenly lord of primordial beginning. I have an item that is rather similar to this array formation. With that said, Fang Qingshan took out the 9 bends yellow river array. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning glanced at it before looking at Fang Qingshan and nodding. Forget it. This is the first time we've met, and Second Uncle Master hasn't given you any greeting gifts. I'll give this to you. With that said, the heavenly lord of primordial beginning handed the array diagram of the 9 bends yellow river array to Fang Qingshan. Thank you, Second Uncle Master. Fang Qingshan did not expect the heavenly lord of primordial beginning to hand the array diagram to him directly. That was a pleasant surprise, and he hurriedly thanked him. Primordial, how dare you? At that moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly felt like his soul was about to leave his body. Even his essence, soul, seemed to have fallen into an endless hell as an indescribable fear rose in his heart. He was not the only one. Jiangxia, Randang, Luya, and Child White Crane were the same. Then, the air suddenly split into two. A huge sword that looked like a lotus leaf that was 3 feet and 6 inches long appeared. The sword and scabbard were completely black with green lotus flowers covering them. Suddenly it slashed down. How dare you, Grandmaster of Heaven? The heavenly lord of primordial beginning was shocked when he saw that. Following that, he was furious. He hurriedly waved his sleeve and put away Fang Qingshan and the others. Then, he pointed at the descending green sword. A 3-treasure rui appeared out of thin air and blocked the treasured sword. Buzz! In an instant, the world lost its color and the sun and moon lost their light. The primordial sound of primordial chaos resounded throughout the entire desolation. Space shattered and chaos evolved. Earth, wind, water, and fire surged. It turned out that the Grandmaster of Heaven on Golden Turtle Island knew that not only did the heavenly lord of primordial beginning bully the weak, but he also killed Qiong Xiao and Bai Xiao. He was furious and immediately attacked. Chapter 478. When an ordinary man is enraged, blood splatters 5 steps away. When a marquis is enraged, blood will flow for thousands of miles. When an emperor is enraged, blood will flow like rivers. When a saint is enraged, the world will shake. The disciples of the 3 sects were in danger because there were too many people who needed to enter the rankings. Meanwhile, the disciples of the various sects, especially the direct disciples, were all their own flesh and blood, so no one was willing to part with them. Therefore, all the sages conferred the title of God on Sansang. Among them, Rin School only had one direct disciple, Xiandu. If he were to enter the rankings, his legacy would be severed. No one would dare to do anything. Fortunately, Laozi knew how to deal with people. He separated the good corpse Taishang Laojun to replace Xuandu on the list. Moreover, Rin School was a sect of the human race. As long as they did not join other sects, they could be considered disciples of Rin School. For example, Lipis, Baigan, and the rest. On the other hand, Chan School was inferior to Rin School. Although he had many direct disciples, he had few disciples. As a result, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning had no choice but to think of a way to let his disciples take in more disciples to replace the tribulation. Sect leader Tong Tian, on the other hand, did not mind having more people on the list. This was not only to lighten the burden on the elder brothers, but also to find another way out for the disciples. However, this was only limited to outer sect disciples with shallow foundations. Sect leader Tong Tian also knew about Zhao Gongming's death, and he was very sad about it. However, because Zhao Gongming had died to the Nailhead 7 Arrows book, Immortal Luya and Jiangxia had done it. Therefore, although sect master Tong Ti sighed, he did not seek revenge. He only felt pity for Zhao Gongming and simply felt that he was not lucky enough and had little fortune. However, he never would have thought that he had already backed down, already done his best to help his elder brother. However, his heart was originally towards the bright moon, but the bright moon shines in the ditch. He did not expect the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning to personally deal with the 3 Shao immortals. Furthermore, he killed Qiong Shao, and by Shao in one fell swoop, and suppressed Yin Shao. This was something he absolutely could not accept. He liked Qiong Shao, and by Shao very much. Yin Zhao's position in his heart was not inferior to Duo Bao Wudong and the others. He knew that the 3 firmament fairies had indeed crossed the line. He had captured all 12 golden immortals in one fell swoop, vanquishing the 3 flowers and extinguishing the 5 Qis. 10,000 years of hard work had been wasted in an instant. However, at least they were still alive. As long as they were still alive, it would be easy for them to restore their cultivation with the means of sages. However, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning still made a move. He did not take into account that Sanqing was from the same sect and came from the same origin. He bullied the weak and even sent Qiong Shao to the Green Skies list. How could he tolerate this? His disciples' skills were inferior. So, as the master, he had to personally take action. He called him second brother, and Yun Shao and the others called him second martial uncle. If there was one, there would be 2. Today, it was Cloud Sky. So in the future, wouldn't it be many treasures? Therefore, the Tongtian sect leader could not suppress his anger at all and directly attacked. When the sky emitted murderous intent, the stars would shift. When the earth emitted murderous intent, dragons and snakes would rise from the land. When humans emitted murderous intent, heaven and earth would be overturned. Yuanshi Tianzuan did not expect that Tong Tian would really attack him for the sake of a few disciples. He didn't have much time to think, so he could only take out the Rui scepter. It shone with a myriad of lights and vibrant colors as he fought against the Qingping sword. Boom! The void was directly shattered. Golden light splashed everywhere, and the light collapsed. With the Rui scepter and the Qingping sword as the center, the area within a radius of thousands of miles was directly turned into nothingness. The entire Mount Desolation was shaking. However, it was not only the Mount Desolation that was shaking, but also the people's hearts. Of course, apart from fear, they were also excited. It's finally here. The moment I've been waiting for is finally here. In the Lingxiao Palace of the Golden Arches, Hao Ian did not care about the palace that seemed to be on the verge of collapse. The Hao Ian treasure mirror was hanging high, and he was so excited that he could not control himself as he watched the battle between the Yuanshi Tianzuan and the Tongtian sect leader. Yes, the day has finally come. The Jade Pool Golden Mother beside him also said with half joy and half worry. She was naturally happy that the Jade Emperor's plan had finally expanded to the maximum. She was worried that the third party would benefit from the fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam. However, it was not so easy to be the third party. After all, there were not only the 2 saints here. Senior brother, did you see that? They have finally come to this step. Our chance has come. Just as the Jade Emperor was excited, on Mount Meru in the west, Zhundi was also trembling with excitement. Yes, yes, it has been so many years since the immemorial age. We have finally waited for this moment. Not only Zhundi, but even the bitter Jean, who had always been like Laozi, also showed a rare look of joy at this moment. Ever since the primordial Dragon Phoenix tribulation and the battle between the Taoists and the demons, the West had not been as good as before because their ancestral veins had been destroyed. Although there were two more saints, and Zhundi Jin and Jin had been running around for Buddhism and the West, they could not do anything even if they wanted to. There were two saints in the West and more in the East. Not to mention Lady Nuwa. Sanqing alone was enough to prevent them from taking even half a step forward. If the Sanqing did not collapse, they would have no chance at all. After all, not only did they have more people than them, but their cultivation and magic treasures were also better than theirs. Old man Songhai, who had passed through all eras, he went on a trip to the eastern, gazing Kunlun. Finally, this moment had arrived. They had waited for the separation of the Sanqing family and the big fight. The prosperity of Buddhism was right in front of them. If it were not for the protection of the primordial Lord of Heaven, the entire West Qi would have probably been turned into ruins. Enough! Just when the Tongtian sect leader attacked in anger and the primordial Lord of Heaven was forced to fight back, causing the world to shake. At this moment, they suddenly heard a stern shout from the nine heavens. Following that, a golden bridge crossed the sky and froze the three-treasure Rui scepter and the Qingping sword in midair. After a while, a pole stretched out of the void and directly lifted the two supreme treasures. Then, they saw the heavenly Lord of Tao and Virtue, who had always been indifferent, walking out of the void with a furious expression. What are you guys doing? Are you trying to refine the chaos and reopen the world? Eldest senior brother, you came at the right time. The Tongtian sect leader said directly when he saw Laozi. The primordial Lord of Heaven disregarded his friendship with Sanqing and bullied the weak. He personally interfered in the apotheosis ceremony and even killed the three firmament fairies. How could such actions befit a master or a saint? It's a complete disgrace to Sanqing, Xianmin, Hongjun, and Pangu. The honored Lord of the Origin originally felt a little guilty because of what had happened to the three heaven fairies. However, after seeing Lord Tongtian make a move and hearing his words, he was so angry that his face turned red like Lord Bao. Ever since he was born, no one had ever dared to speak to him like that. Enough. Laozi looked at primordial Lord of Origin and Tongtian with a headache. What should he say? If he helped one, he would offend the other, so he could only try to smooth things over. Red flower, white lotus root, green lotus leaf. The three religions were originally one family. Since things have already happened to this extent, let's just forget about it, lest we become a joke to others. Forget it? Didn't the three sky fairies die in vain? Tongtian looked at Laozi in disappointment. Then what else do you want? You want me to pay with my life? Primordial Lord sneered. Chapter 479. Of course not. Sovereign Tongtian shook his head lightly. It was obviously a joke to ask honored Lord of Heaven to pay with his life. It was impossible. Not to mention that sages were immortal. Other sages would not stand on his side in order to protect their reputation. Moreover, he still remembered his friendship with Sanqing. They were of the same origin and were from the same sect. Although they had separated, he was still his second brother. Hearing this, Laozi and honored Lord of Heaven looked much better. However, what Tongtian said next instantly made honored Lord of Heaven furious. Master, if you have something to do, I will do it for you. Why don't you let Guang Chengzi and the others do it for you? Grandmaster Tongtian said calmly. Anyway, they were the ones who caused the trouble. You can choose one of them and send him to the list of deification. How about that? Impossible. Honored Lord of Heaven denied it resolutely. Honored Lord of Heaven thought that sect leader Tongtian would turn a big problem into a small one, but he did not expect that he would be waiting for him here. He valued dignity the most. How could he bow to sect leader Tong Tian in this matter? The 12 gold immortals were carefully selected by him to be his successors. Every one of them was irreplaceable. Even the yellow dragon immortal, whom he disliked the most, was much better than the people of the Jie school who did not care about their appearance or appearance. Impossible? Hearing honored Lord of Heaven's words, sect leader Tong Tian's voice suddenly turned cold. He thought that he had done his best, but he did not expect that honored Lord of Heaven would reply in this way. Ha! Sect leader Tong Tian could not help but laugh at himself. He deserved it. He should not have had any hope for primordial Lord of Heaven. What did eldest brother say? Tong Tian was completely disappointed with primordial Lord of Heaven. He turned to look at Laozi and asked lightly. This. Laozi was also very anxious about this. As for his two younger brothers, they were born together, cultivated together, acknowledged a master together, and became saints together. He knew them all too well. They were both too proud. Moreover, due to the different paths of the great Tao, they were completely at odds with each other. What should he say? If he said it, he would definitely offend one side. If he didn't say it, he would offend both sides. After all, no one liked to sit on top of the mountain and reap the spoils when the wind blows, or to be swayed by the grass on top of the wall. After weighing the pros and cons, Laozi slowly opened his mouth to persuade Tong Tian. Things have come to this. The dead are gone. Moreover, the cultivation of Guangchengzi and the others has been destroyed. They have received the punishment they deserve. I don't think it's necessary. In the end, Laozi still stood on the side of the primordial Lord of Heaven. Moreover, you have so many disciples. It doesn't matter if you have one more or one less, but your second brother only has 10 or so disciples. Just as Laozi said, there are only so many original disciples, and there are many heavenly experts. Losing one or two isn't a big deal. On top of that, Primordial was a little stubborn, and Tong Tian wanted to be more magnanimous. So he spoke up for Primordial to balance things out. Most importantly, the power of the 10,000 immortals of Jie school was too great. A tall tree attracts the wind. It would be beneficial to the Tong Tian sect if they trimmed their branches and leaves. Ah ha ha ha. Hearing Laozi's words, Tong Tian completely understood. He didn't want to talk nonsense. He looked up to the sky and roared. The decisiveness in his voice made Laozi and Primordial Lord of Origins' expressions change. Taunting, the two of them spoke at the same time, but Tong Tian waved his hand and interrupted them. There's no need to say anything more. Tong Tian waved his hand coldly. Since things have come to this, there's nothing more to say. Let's see who's the real deal. Under the boundary steel, I'll use the immortal slaying sword formation to seek guidance from you two. As soon as he finished speaking, the Qingping sword swooshed down toward the East Sea. Laozi and Primordial Lord of Origins' faces darkened when they heard Tong Tian's words. Their suppressed anger made the whole world seem like a storm was coming, and dark clouds pressed down on the city. Immortal slaying sword formation. It can't be broken unless it's one of the 4 sages. Hee, this is going to be a good show. I just don't know if Tong Tian or Primordial Lord of Tao and Virtue will win in the end. Tong Tian didn't hide his words at all. In an instant, everyone in the world who should know about it knew. These people, whether they wanted to see the world in chaos or those who were wise to protect themselves, were all interested. They had placed the highest expectations for this unprecedented war. The immortal slaying sword formation. The Desolation sect had 3 peerless formations. It was as famous as the Demon Clan's Zhodian Star Formation and the Wu People's 12 Divine Fiend Formation. When the Purple Cloud Palace divided the treasures, Daozu of Hongjun had said that only the 4 sages could break it. At that time, the expressions of these people changed again and again. In the Desolation sect, apart from Daozu, there were only 6 sages, and Sanqing occupied 3 of them. Looking at the entire Desolation sect, who else could be a match for Tong Tian? It was also because of this that the Jie school had been able to develop so smoothly all these years. Tens of thousands of immortals came to pay their respects. Unfortunately, they didn't expect that the immortal slaying sword formation would be used not against Zhuanti or Nuwa, but against Laozi and primordial lord of origin. This was going to be a good show. Moreover, this was a battle between sages. Compared to the ancient great sorcerer and demon war, the primordial dragon and phoenix war, and the battle between Taoists and demons, it was probably going to be even more exciting. Just as everyone was looking forward to it, and Laozi and primordial lord of origin were suppressing their anger, Fang Qingshan shook his head. Trouble arises when the wall is broken. He had foresight. He knew that there were only two ways to break the immortal slaying sword formation. The first was to have a much higher cultivation level than the array master and directly use force to defeat 10. However, it was obvious that neither primordial lord of origin nor Laozi could do that. Then there was only the second way. For sages would take action and pluck the four swords at the same time. To do this, just Laozi and primordial lord of origin was obviously not enough. They could only go to the Western Paradise and invite Juanti and primordial lord of origin. If that was the case, they would owe huge karma. This was also the reason why, after the Battle of the Gods, Randang brought C.I. Hang and the others to the Buddhist sect, and the primordial lord of heaven turned a blind eye to it. This was also the main culprit that the Taoists of Xianmen had to pinch their noses and accept the Buddhist sect in the future. In fact, if Laozi really wanted to, he could actually break the immortal slaying sword formation by himself. He did not need to be afraid of others' help at all. It was just like when Daozu broke the immortal slaying sword formation during the battle between Taoists and demons in the primordial era. However, their methods were different. Daozu relied on the three separations, while Laozi relied on the one-turn Sanqing. Although both of them had cut off the three separations, only Daozu had cut off all three of them. Only by cutting off all three of them could the power of this Dao attaining technique be fully revealed. And the reason why Laozi was not willing to go all out was that he was well aware of the reason why he could get rich quietly. A tree that was taller than the forest would be destroyed by the wind. A pile that was taller than the shore would be turbulent. Wasn't Tong Tian a good example? If he really broke the immortal slaying sword formation by himself, not to mention others, even primordial lord of heaven, who had always been obedient to him, would probably isolate him. Chapter 480. Big Brother, what should we do now? In Dachi's sky, the primeval lord of heaven asked Laozi with a gloomy face. What else can we do? Since Tong Tian has already shouted those words, whether it's for the great cause of becoming a god or for his own reputation, we can only go through the immortal slaying sword formation. At this time, Laozi could no longer remain calm and said helplessly, "Of course I know this." Laozi was also very conflicted. However, the immortal slaying sword formation can't be broken unless it's four sages. Now there are only two of us. If we can't break it, it won't be good to lose face, but it won't be good to delay the great cause of becoming a god. Then what do you think we should do? Laozi asked faintly. I wonder if Big Brother's one chi turning Sanqing can. Although the primeval lord of heaven did not finish his words, his meaning was already very clear. No. Laozi shook his head very decisively. Looking at the disappointed Laozi, he could not help but explain. One chi turning Sanqing can indeed evolve three doppelgangers with the same strength as the main body, but a sage is unique. If I can evolve three sages at the same time, it will be equivalent to borrowing 3 times the power from Hongjun Tiandao. Under Hongjun Tiandao, there are 9 sages. Apart from Daozu, there are already 6 sages. Hongjun Tiandao will not allow 3 more sages because Hongjun Tiandao will not be able to bear the burden. After a pause, Laozi explained again. Therefore, even if 3 doppelgangers can be evolved, either their strength can't keep up, or they can only be manifested for a short time. It's obviously not possible to break the immortal slaying sword formation in a short time. In the entire desolation, apart from Laozi, Fang Qingshan was the only one who could use one chi turning Sanqing. However, not only was Fang Qingshan's cultivation low, but he had also only learned an incomplete version of one chi turning Sanqing. Therefore, no one knew what one chi turning Sanqing was like. However, Laozi's words were reasonable, and the primeval Lord of Heaven could not find any flaws. Moreover, he also believed that Big Brother would not lie to him because there was no need. Little did he know that it was better to leave a way out for others in the future. If he really revealed it completely, he would be happy now. When he broke the immortal vanquishing sword array and passed the great God-confirmant tribulation, his mentality would probably not be like this now. Big Brother. After a moment of silence, the heavenly primogenitor's face suddenly became gloomy like the changing wind and clouds. Even his aura rose and fell like the tides of a river. With one look, Laozi knew that he was in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do, so he didn't want to disturb him. It was better for him to think it through himself. Time passed bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, Yuanshi Tianzuan closed his eyes and suddenly opened them. His eyes were full of determination. He let out a long breath. Laozi knew that he had made up his mind, so he immediately listened attentively. Big Brother, there's only one way left. Yuanshi Tianzuan said slowly, expressionless. Apart from us three brothers, there are three other saints in the world today, so, although Yuanshi Tianzuan didn't say it clearly, Laozi instantly understood what he meant. He immediately widened his eyes and looked at him in disbelief. Laozi had never experienced such a situation since he was born. It could be seen how shocked he was by Yuanshi Tianzuan's words. Laozi stammered for a long time, but couldn't say another word. He didn't expect Yuanshi Tianzuan to think of such a way to win. Internecine strife. Laozi closed his eyes in pain. However, from the sudden change in his breathing, one could see the ups and downs in his heart. Big Brother, please help me. Yuanshi Tianzuan had already experienced the pain of being in a dilemma and making up his mind. At this moment, he had already calmed down. He just stood up and bowed to Laozi. Do you really want to do this? Laozi didn't open his eyes, and his voice didn't fluctuate at all. You should know that their karma isn't that easy to I've thought it through. Primordial Lord nodded affirmatively and murmured to himself. If I don't invite them, I can't break the immortal slaying sword formation. If I can't break the immortal slaying sword formation, he will still attack Guang Chengzi and the others. This time, it's not just one person. Big Brother, I only have 10 of them. If they are gone, the clan of enlightenment will be finished. In Xuandu Cave, there was only silence, as if the world was dead. All right. After a long while, Laozi nodded with difficulty. I hope you won't regret it in the future. Thank you, Big Brother. Primordial Lord didn't seem to be happy. He thanked Laozi calmly. Even if I regret the decision I made, I can only swallow it. What Primordial Lord didn't know was that after he was apatheicized, his words immediately came true. After saying that, Primordial Lord turned around and left Dachi Sky, heading for the Elysium. Looking at his bleak back, Laozi couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Has it finally come to this? Just as the Primordial Lord of Heaven and Laozi were discussing how to deal with the immortal slaying sword formation, Fang Qingshan had already started seclusion in Shiqi. Speaking of which, not much time had passed since Fang Qingshan had passed the itinerant immortal tribulation, but he had experienced a lot. First, he broke 2 of the 10 absolute arrays and felt the power of the Khanate Cardinal Treasure. Then, he went to Dachi Sky with Xiandu to meet the sage. Then he met Zhao Gongming, took the Sea Calming Divine Pearl, and exchanged it with Randang. Not long ago, he had witnessed the invincible power of the 9-turn Yellow River Formation. In addition, the World Tree had devoured a section of the World Tree trunk and refined 3 5-element Spirit Pearl restrictions. Fang Qingshan's cultivation level had already reached that level. Because he had passed the itinerant immortal tribulation, the benefits he received naturally exceeded the limit. Be in terms of cultivation level, experience, or state of mind, Fang Qingshan had already reached that level. The only problem now was his dermic powers. To Fang Qingshan, dermic powers were the best problem. Not to mention the devouring power of the World Tree and the spirit meridians of the Khanate Small World. Just the gourd of 7 transformations golden pills that Xian Du had given him was enough to let him rest easy. In the secret chamber of Shichi, a mirror floated in the air, sealing the surroundings. Fang Qingshan took out the gourd, poured out a 7 transformations golden pill, and swallowed it. Boom! Endless energy erupted from his body. This was also because Fang Qingshan's body had always been very strong, coupled with the transformation of the Thunder Tribulation. Otherwise, it was not impossible for his body to explode and die. After all, this was a 7 transformations golden pill. Even a heaven immortal could rapidly increase their cultivation level after taking it. With this overwhelming power, breaking through the bottleneck of an earth immortal would naturally be a piece of cake. In an instant, Fang Qingshan's essence, soul, and body had undergone 9 huge changes. Every part of his body had been tempered to the extreme. His entire body had undergone earth-shattering changes. His eyes were like the brightest stars in the night sky, shining brightly. Feeling the power in his body, Fang Qingshan believed that even a heaven immortal could not compare. Chapter 481. Ever since Fang Qingshan broke the 2 arrays of Luo Pa and Windroar, Randang had broken 6 arrays in a row. There were only 2 arrays left in the 10 absolute arrays, the red water and red sand. As Randang had broken the array too quickly, Wenzhong knew that it would be useless to send the last 2 heavenly lords out. Therefore, he invited Zhao Gongming. However, he did not expect that not only would Zhao Gongming be implicated, but even the 3 Shao immortals would also be implicated. In the end, it even alarmed the Grand Master of Heaven, and he personally came. There was no other way now. The Grand Master of Heaven had issued an invitation to fight under the boundary steel. Naturally, he had to kill the last 2 heavenly lords in Wenzhong. That was because he had used the sacrificial method to break the 6 arrays previously, but it was no longer possible now. First of all, he could not go too far. Chan School still had to save some face. Moreover, some of the remaining people could not be touched by Randang and the others, such as Neza and Yang Jian. More importantly, the 12 golden immortals had been crippled. If the 3rd-generation disciples were gone, they would not even have 2 people to support them. That would be too miserable. Coincidentally, Fang Qingshan had broken through and come out of seclusion. The matter of breaking the array was handed to him. After all, he had broken 2 arrays alone. Naturally, Fang Qingshan didn't refuse and agreed without hesitation. Before he broke through, his combat power was already comparable to a peak heaven immortal. He had fought Wenzhong without losing. Now that he had broken through to the earth immortal realm, his combat power could completely contend against a perfected immortal. The 10 heavenly lords no longer had an advantage over him in terms of cultivation level. Of the red water and red sand formations, Fang Qingshan naturally broke through the red water formation first. The reason was naturally because of the sea calming pearl. Although Fang Qingshan only had 12 sea calming divine pearls in his hands, they were still sea calming pearls. Sea calming, they could even calm the sea, let alone the red water. Fang Qingshan's cultivation level was not high in the past. In addition, the sea calming pearl was a top-notch connate numinous treasure, so he could not refine it. However, it was different now. Firstly, his cultivation level had broken through to the earth immortal realm, and his strength had increased more than 10 times. Coupled with the fact that he had lost 12 sea-calming divine pearls, it had fallen from a top-notch connate numinous treasure to a middle-grade connate numinous treasure. As such, Fang Qingshan was able to quickly refine a few restrictions. Although he was not able to refine them completely, it was enough to restrain the red water array. Sure enough, as expected, when Fang Qingshan walked into the formation, he didn't even summon the Tai 5 smoke net or the clear sky treasured mirror. Instead, he directly used the 5 elements halo and the red water to fill the sky, but didn't shake the formation in the slightest. Previously in the 9-turn Yellow River formation, when Fang Qingshan saw the Yuanshi Tianzuan's golden lamp of auspicious cloud, Fang Qingshan secretly peeped at it. Although he only coveted a little bit of it, when he integrated it into the 5 elements halo, its power increased a lot. In particular, he also refined several restrictions of the five-element spirit pearl, so the five elements halo's defensive power increased day by day. Following that, the sea calming divine pearl was scattered, and the entire formation couldn't operate anymore. This time, Fang Qingshan didn't need to use the little destiny skill and the escape technique at all. He directly used the one chi turning Sanqing, and with several times the power, he directly beheaded the red water array and broke it. As for the red sand array, according to its original trajectory, the red sand array was a huge, evil obstacle. It had to be blessed by a person to be safe. If there was no lucky person to break the array, there would be great damage. To break the array, King Wu had to go personally. However, the final result was that King Wu, GFA, was also trapped inside. It was only later, when the South Pole Immortal took action, that he succeeded. In this regard, Fang Qingshan felt that there was no need to go through so much trouble. Since breaking the array required a lucky person, it also required destiny. The level of destiny was the embodiment of luck and merit. Instead of looking for someone like King Wu, who had no cultivation at all, Fang Qingshan felt that he should invite an expert. However, before that, Fang Qingshan felt that he should invite another treasure to ensure that nothing went wrong. Due to his cultivation level, Fang Qingshan directly invited Randang to the Great Scarlet Sky and borrowed the treasure of Rin's school, the number 1 postnatal merit treasure, the mysterious yellow pagoda of heaven and earth. Then, he handed it to Yun Zhongzi and asked him to break the array formation. The cultivation levels of the 12 golden immortals had been crippled. Although the heavenly lord of primordial beginning had already asked Laozi for the 9 revolutions golden pill, it would not be a short time for him to recover. Hence, he sent the South Pole Immortal and Yun Zhongzi out. Why did Fang Qingshan choose Yun Zhongzi and not King Wu to break the array formation? Firstly, since he knew that GFA might have fallen into the array formation, he did not dare to let him take the risk. After all, he was on good terms with Ji Chong and was Bo Yikao's master. Moreover, in terms of destiny, GFA might not be higher than Yin Zhongzi. After all, he was not the ruler of the human race yet. He was just a hidden dragon. He needed to completely defeat King Zhou of Shang and become a god before he could be recognized. On the other hand, Yin Zhongzi was a famous immortal of virtue. Although he was not among the 12 golden immortals, his status in Chan School was similar to Yun Zhao's status in Jie School. Moreover, the 9 Bins Yellow River Array had captured all 12 golden immortals in one fell swoop. However, he and the Old Man of the South Pole had escaped. One had to know that the Old Man of the South Pole was famous for his longevity. He had great fortune, which showed Yun Zhongzi's destiny. Moreover, his cultivation level might not be comparable to Randang and the others, but it was not inferior to the 12 golden immortals, let alone GFA. In addition, Fang Qingshan had borrowed the mysterious yellow pagoda of heaven and earth. Once he made a move, he could indeed capture them effortlessly. In an instant, the 10 ultimate array was completely broken. The 10 lords of heaven and earth were all on the list, and Wen Zhong was the only one left. Not to mention the experts, Chaoga's side had suffered consecutive defeats, and their morale had fallen to rock bottom. Facing Jiang Ziya's attack, although Wen Zhong had the power to turn the world upside down, he could not do anything. The army was defeated like a landslide, like the opening of a dam, and 1,000 miles of water flowed out. Since Wen Zhong was defeated, he wanted to lead the defeated army back to Chaoga with the intention of making a comeback. However, he was surrounded and intercepted by Jiang Ziya and the others. In the end, he was forced into the Dragon Ridge. It was fate, and he did not get rid of his destiny. The Dragon Ridge was to Wen Zhong, just like Luofeng Hill was to Pang Tong in the future. Coupled with Yun Zhongzi's personal attack and the sky-reaching godly fire pillar, Wen Zhong was burned to death. In a short period of time, not only did Chaoga suffer losses, but even Grand Tutor Wen died in Shiqi. This time, no matter how muddle-headed King Zhou was, he knew that the situation was not good. He quickly gathered ideas and recruited troops. In the end, he sent Deng Jiugong, the commander-in-chief of the Three Mountains Pass, to attack Shichi. Unfortunately, even when Zhong could not save the situation, let alone Deng Jiogong. Although the 5 light stone of his daughter, Deng Chanyu, was somewhat interesting, that was all. After that, there were the rebellions of Tu Xingsuan, Yin Jiao, Yin Hong, and others, the Plague of Lu Yu, the One Qi Immortal Ma Yuan, the Winged Immortal of Penglai Island, Lamp Core Ma Shan, Fire Deity Luo Xian, and others. All of them were useless and were suppressed by Fong Qing Shan and the others until the army arrived at the Golden Chicken Ridge. Chapter 482. However, ever since the Heavenly Lord Yuanshi broke the 9-turn Yellow River formation, he had angered the sect master of Tongtian, so much so that he had threatened to compete with him at the Boundary Stone Pass. However, before the Boundary Stone Pass, the army of West Qi had declared that they were invincible, and invincible. Although West Qi had lost the 12 Golden Immortals, Jiang Ziya was good at using the art of war. He also had the elite disciples of the 3rd generation, Yang Jian, Neza, Fong Qing Shan, Yin Zhongzi, South Pole Immortal Wang, and Dipon. What about Chaoga? Since Wen Zhong's death, although Shan Gongbao was stirring up trouble, the disciples of the tribe of Jie still came out one after another to stir up trouble. However, they were all grasshoppers after autumn and could not do anything. After all, there were only a few people in the entire tribe of Jie who were more powerful than Zhao Gongming and the 3 Sky Fairies. After all, even abundant treasures did not dare to say that he could defeat Yunxiao in the face of the 9-turn Yellow River formation. As for why the elite disciples of the tribe of Jie did not come, it was not necessary. After all, everyone in the tribe of Jie, be it sect leader Tongtian or ordinary disciples, was obsessed with the immortal killing sword formation. They believed that no one in the world could defeat it except Daozu, Hongjun, and Hongjun Tiandao. Although Laozi was the eldest senior brother of the Xianmen sect, his cultivation was not much better than sect leader Tongtian. With the help of the formation, sect leader Tongtian was very confident that even Laozi in primordial beginning could not defeat him. In that case, the final victory would belong to them anyway. Why not let West Qi be happy? There was a reason why sect leader Tongtian chose to fight under the Boundary Steel instead of taking action immediately after the Yellow River formation of 9 bends was broken. First of all, sect leader Tongtian was not ready. Although he knew that the Great Tribulation would be dangerous, he did not expect that he would need to use the immortal killing sword formation. The immortal killing sword formation could not be used easily. After all, this time he was facing 2 sages who had supreme treasures. Even a lion would use all its strength to fight a rabbit. On the other hand, sect leader Tongtian thought that the Boundary Steel was the most suitable place to stop the army of West Qi. It could be regarded as a geographical advantage. Then there was the time. When they reached the Boundary Steel Pass, it could be said that the Great Tribulation had already erupted to the extreme. Before this, the Qi of Calamity was still rising, but after this, it would decline. Only at the Boundary Steel would the Qi of Calamity be the most condensed and majestic. It was also only at this time that the power of the immortal slaying sword formation could be unleashed to its greatest extent. Timing, location, and people. Even if people couldn't win, the more timing and location they had, the more chances they had of winning. Although Tongtian felt that no one could compete with the immortal slaying sword formation, he still felt a sense of danger, so he acted cautiously. Little did he know that it was not just Laozi, Primordial Lord, and Zhuni that he had to face this time. A total of 4 sages had broken the immortal slaying sword formation and suffered a crushing defeat. Sect leader Tongtian was practicing the immortal slaying sword formation on Golden Turtle Island while waiting for the final moment to arrive. On the other hand, West Qi was invincible. Unknowingly, they had become arrogant and valiant. When they arrived at the Golden Chicken Ridge, Kong Xian's appearance immediately poured a bucket of cold water on everyone's fiery momentum. Kong Xian's appearance was completely out of everyone's expectations except for Fong Qingshan. They didn't expect that there would be such a person outside the 3 sections. He was so powerful that he once again defeated the 12 Golden Immortals, including Dipankara. The 12 Golden Immortals could be considered unlucky. First, they were shaved bald by Yun Xiao at the Yellow River Array. The 3 flowers on the top of their heads disappeared, and the 5 qi in their chests were destroyed. It was not easy for the primordial lord of beginning to ask for the 9 revolutions golden pill from the Lord of Tao and virtue, which allowed them to recover some of their cultivation. They thought that there should be no danger before the boundary steel, since there were no experts from the Jie school taking action. Therefore, they returned to the Jianghu. However, they didn't know that they would encounter Kong Xian, the tiger that blocked their way and gave them a head-on blow. The 5-color divine light behind Kong Xian soared into the sky, like a peacock spreading its tail behind his head. On the side of West Qi, Hong Jin, Lei Zhenzi, and the others all returned in failure. Even Huang Tianhua was killed. Then, the 12 Golden Immortals appeared. They were no better than the 3rd-generation disciples. Even Dipankara and Luya couldn't do anything to Kong Xian. Indeed, Kong Xian restrained them too much. Speaking of cultivation, although Kong Xian couldn't break through to the sage-to-be level like them, he had accumulated so much that even Dipankara was not much weaker than him. After all, Kong Xian was born after the primordial dragon and phoenix war. Speaking of Dharma treasures, although Kong Xian didn't have any powerful Dharma treasures, the 5-color divine light behind him could restrain all Dharma treasures under the Khanate cardinal treasures. The treasure fall coin could also drop all spirit treasures under the Khanate cardinal treasures. But compared to the 5-color divine light, it was completely useless. First of all, the treasure fall coin could only drop 3 treasures a day, but the 5-color divine light didn't have to worry about that at all. Then, the treasure fall coin couldn't drop weapons, but the 5-color divine light could be used for anything. Moreover, the 5-color divine light could not only be used for Dharma treasures and weapons, but it could also be used for people and divine powers. One skill to dominate the world. Their cultivation was not as good as the others, and their Dharma treasures were taken away. How could they fight? As the saying went, one man could hold the pass against 10,000 enemies. For a moment, the morale of the West Qi couldn't help but hit rock bottom. It was even worse than when they used the 9-turn Yellow River formation. After all, during the 9-turn Yellow River formation, Yun Xiao was born in the Jie school and had to rely on the power of the formation to stop them. But Kong Xian, a person whose background couldn't be seen at all, actually relied on his combat power to make them helpless. Even the holy whip that often restrained the experts of Chaoga didn't work this time. After all, Kong Xian wasn't a famous person on the list of deification. He was just a passerby in the West. How could Jiang Zia and the others not be dispirited? How about I go up Kunlun Mountain? In the end, Jiang Zia had no choice but to ask for help. No, the South Pole immortal hermit shook his head. Third Uncle Master wants to set up the fairy slaying sword formation, and Master is busy thinking of a solution. How can he be distracted? Then what should we do? Jiang Zia spread his hands. Junior brother Fong seems to have a solution. At this moment, Yin Zhongzi suddenly saw the calm look on Fong Qingshan's face. Swish! In an instant, everyone's eyes focused on him. Benefactor, do you have a solution? Jiang Zia asked, overjoyed. I don't have a solution. Fong Qingshan shook his head and didn't wait for the others to be disappointed. But someone else has a solution. Who? Everyone asked in unison. You'll know when the time comes. Fong Qingshan smiled mysteriously, keeping the suspense and not saying anything directly. Chapter 483. When the Great Enlightenment Golden Immortal is the Buddha of the West. Undying, 3 elements, all chi, all spirit, all benevolence. Come out of the lotus platform, open the twofold sutra. Purple flames grow in the 8 virtues pool, and golden moss grow on the 7 treasures tree. Because I am handsome in the eastern land, I will meet my fate and form a divine fetus. Although the crowd was not satisfied with Fong Qingshan keeping them in suspense, they could not help but feel a sense of hope when they saw his confident look. In truth, even though Fong Qingshan's cultivation base was not high, he usually gave off a sense of propriety. He would not speak without thinking. Moreover, he would not joke around when it came to matters like this. Moreover, Kong Xian had left too much of shadow in their hearts. Therefore, they were willing to hold on to a hope. Otherwise, it would be too hopeless. Unable to defeat Kong Xian, the West Qi army was blocked outside the Golden Chicken Ridge. Before they could find a way to deal with it, they could only hang up the no need to fight sign. Time slowly passed by as they waited anxiously. Waiting was undoubtedly the most worrying thing. Just when everyone's patience was about to run out, only Fong Qingshan remained calm. He knew that Junti would absolutely not let go of such a great figure like Kong Xian without making a move. In order to promote Buddhism, Junti often came to the east to beg for alms. He even took a fancy to the outer sect disciples of the Jie school and enlightened 3,000 mortals, not to mention an elite like Kong Xian. Besides, Kong Xian was the crown prince of the ancient Phoenix clan. Although the Phoenix clan had declined since the ancient tribulation of the Dragon Phoenix, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Moreover, one of the 4 sacred beasts, the vermilion bird, was from the Phoenix clan, and the Phoenix mother was suppressing the undying volcano. If they could subdue Kong Xian, not only would they have one more expert, but they would also have more luck. Compared to Sanqing and Yuhua, the West's luck was even weaker. First, because of the war between Taoists and demons, their ancestral veins were destroyed. Second, there was no treasure to suppress their luck. Therefore, Junti would not let go of anything that could increase their luck. Sure enough, on this day, in the midst of everyone's oppressive silence, they suddenly heard a song that sounded like it came from the Elysium. He's here. Fong Qingshan's eyes lit up. He's here? What's coming? Clearly, the crowd had yet to react. Naturally, it's time to subdue Kong Xian. Fong Qingshan smiled. Let's go and welcome this expert. With that, Fong Qingshan took the lead and walked out. Randing and the others looked at each other and quickly followed Fong Qingshan out. From afar, they could see a man with 2 buns tied into 2 buns. His face was sallow and his body was skinny. He wore 2 flowers on his buns and held a tree branch in his hand. Although he did not look impressive, no one dared to look down on him. This was because accompanying the Taoist was the purple chi that came from the east for 3,000 miles. The Lotus Buddhist kingdom extended. With every step, a lotus appeared, and with every step, one was blissful. Sage Junti, seeing this scene, how could the crowd not know who it was? Randing of Chan School, Guang Qingzi. Jiangxia of Chan School, Fong Qingshan of Rin School, Luya of the Imperial Palace greets Sage Junti. May you live forever. Everyone stepped forward to pay their respects. Taoist Randang, there's no need to be so polite. Looking at everyone, especially Randang, Luya, Si Hang, and the others, Junti did not have the dignity that a saint should have. He smiled and returned the greeting. May I know why you came to the east? Randing and Quasi Qian had some inexplicable involvement. After all, his Dao venue, the Spirit Vulture Mountain's Essence Perception Cave, was closer to the west than Zhen Yuanzi's 5-village temple. In addition, he, Junti, and the others were all guests of the Purple Cloud Palace. Junti wanted to capture all the talents in the world in one fell swoop, fill the Western sect, and glorify the Buddhist sect. Randing was also cunning. Although he was in Chan School, he did not receive the treatment he deserved. He knew that he could not put all his eggs in one basket, so he had long found a way out. The 2 of them were in love with each other. They exchanged glances and winked at each other. Otherwise, when Randang and Fong Qingshan exchanged the sea-calming divine pearl, they would not have taken out the Bodhi wood and the Bodhi seed. The Western sect was barren. The only things that could be taken out were probably the golden lotus and the Bodhi tree. Back then, when the Magi were in charge of the earth and the demons were in charge of the heavenly marriage, Junti had only given the two of them a few Bodhi seeds and golden lotus seeds. However, Randang not only had a Bodhi seed, but he also had a second-generation Bodhi tree. From that, it could be seen that their relationship was not trivial. Randang was very happy to see Taoist Junti. At first, he was still thinking about what method Fang Qingshan was talking about. It turned out that Junti had arrived. With him taking action, no matter how powerful Kong Xian was, he would only be a monkey. He would not be able to escape the palm of the Gautama Buddha. Indeed, when he heard Randang's question, Junti smiled and said, Kong Xian of the Golden Chicken Ridge is fated with the Western sect. Recently, I heard that he obstructed the West Qi army here. He doesn't know what's going on, so I'm here to enlighten him. With the saint taking action, we have nothing to worry about. Hearing Junti's words, everyone was relieved. These days, the West Qi army had been suppressed by Kong Xian. Today, with the arrival of Taoist Junti, everyone couldn't bear it anymore. They crowded around Junti and came to the Golden Chicken Ridge to challenge him. It turns out that Saint Junti is here. No wonder they have the courage to come and challenge us. Today, Kong Xian felt uneasy on the Golden Chicken Ridge. It seemed that something bad had happened, but he couldn't figure out what it was. Then, he heard the people of West Qi challenging him. Immediately, he thought that there must be something wrong. When he came out to take a look, he realized that Saint Junti had arrived. Kong Xian's heart sank, but he had to cheer up. May I know where the saint is from? The Taoist is fated with the West, so I'm here to enlighten him. Junti looked at Kong Xian like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. The more he looked at him, the more he liked him. If it weren't for the great God-confirmant tribulation this time, how could the West have subdued a talent like Kong Xian? One had to know that Kong Xian was the crown prince of the Phoenix clan. Standing behind him were the vermilion bird, one of the 4 sacred beasts, and the primordial phoenix mother. Even Guang Chengzi and the others, who had the backing of a saint, were not inferior. The Blackbird of Destiny descended and gave birth to the Shang dynasty. The sacred beast of destiny of the Shang dynasty was the incarnation of the Blackbird. Behind it stood not only the Jie school, but also the Phoenix clan. That was also the reason why Kong Xian was the commander of the Shang dynasty and stopped the West Qi at the Golden Chicken Ridge. It was also because Kong Xian had entered the tribulation that Junti could deal with him and suppress him. It was good for him and helped him escape the tribulation. Otherwise, if he entered the God role, his 10,000 years of hard work would be wasted. He didn't have to worry about the vermilion bird and the Phoenix mother directly. Hearing that, Kong Xian's face turned cold. Although Junti was a saint, Kong Xian was proud and didn't take it seriously. He only feared Junti's power. However, it was impossible to make him surrender with the title of a saint. Saint, you're wrong. I'm the crown prince of the Phoenix clan. Even if I'm fated with the South. This is the mortal world. Saint, you should go back to the Western paradise. Chapter 484. Little friend, you are wrong. When Junti heard this, he couldn't help but shake his head and said compassionately, the Phoenix cried in Shiqi, and the Shang dynasty was prosperous in the Zhou dynasty. This is the destiny, and it can't be reversed by human beings. Little friend, you're also a cultivator. You should know that under Hong Jun Tiandao, the general trend will not change. There is no need to say more. The Blackbird of Heaven descended and gave birth to the Shang dynasty. The Shang dynasty is guarded by my Phoenix clan. If you want to destroy the Shang dynasty, you have to defeat my 5-color divine light first. People who cultivate the Tao are all strong-willed people. No matter what Junti said, he couldn't shake Kong Xian's will. Alas, if I don't kill the 3 corpses, the tribulation Qi will blind my mind. For the sake of my little friend, I can only use force. I think my little friend will thank me in the future. Junti looked like he was doing it for his own good. Kong Xian smiled coldly, and his fighting spirit was high. It just so happens that I also want to try the means of the sage. With that, Kong Xian pulled out the sword from his waist, and the sword light was like a waterfall, slashing towards Junti. The first to strike is the strongest, and the second to strike will suffer. Although Kong Xian was proud and his fighting spirit was high, he also knew that the means of the sage were not trivial, so he went all out. Clang! The sword fell and crossed the void, drawing a trajectory that seemed to be able to cut through time and space. This sword inherited his madness and courage to challenge the sage. He was fearless, not superstitious about authority, and his fate was not up to the heavens. If he didn't have this spirit, how could he become a sage? Countless runes appeared between the sword light: white, green, black, red, and yellow. It was the great way of the 5 elements. Kong Xian was the first peacock in the world, and the Phoenix Mother was born from the 5 elements of heaven and earth. Except for the sage and the ancient 5 elements, few people dared to say that they could beat him in the 5 elements. Fang Qingshan, on the other hand, was dazzled by what he saw. He was also a person who cultivated the 5 elements, and he obtained the Great 5 Elements technique, one of the 3,000 Hongjun Tiandao magical powers in the immortal world. However, compared with Kong Xian, it was the difference between a firefly and a bright moon. This was not just a matter of cultivation. It was also a matter of cultivation, realm, and control of the 5 elements. With Kong Xian's saber move, Fang Qingshan understood a lot. Many things that he did not understand in the past became clear to him after seeing this saber move. However, the more he knew, the more he didn't know. Fang Qingshan also knew that this was a rare opportunity, so he had to try his best to memorize it and comprehend it in the future. This was because he was facing a sage. Otherwise, Kong Xian would not have unleashed his power in such an unrestrained manner. One had to know that when he faced Randang and the others previously, Kong Xian had only scattered the 5-color divine light, and all evil spirits were repelled. However, even though he was giving it his all, he was still facing a saint, so he was unable to cause much trouble for Junti. However, Junti smiled and gently flicked the tree branch in his hand. Not only did the saber light shatter, but even the treasured saber in his hand was swept away. Desolation had 4 treasures that were used to collect magic treasures. Among them, the worst was the Treasurefall coin, but it was also a supreme-grade primordial spiritual treasure. The other 3 were Kong Xian's 5-color divine light, which was a spiritual treasure and a magic power. Laozi's Vajra bracelet was an acquired merit spiritual treasure. Zhuani's Tree of 7 Wonders was a sect master level treasure. Laozi's Carrying Pole, Primordial's 3 treasures Tongtian's Qingping sword, and Zhuani's Tree of 7 Wonders had all become sect master level magic treasures. In terms of grade, they were almost supreme grade primordial spiritual treasures. However, in their hands, they could unleash power far greater than supreme grade primordial spiritual treasures. After all, these were their ultimate treasures. Kong Xian did not expect Zhuani's Tree of 7 Wonders to have the same effect as his 5-color divine light. There was no time to think too much. The only thing that could increase his chances of winning was the 5-color divine light. Kong Xian immediately used this magic power as his trump card. 5-colored light gathered between heaven and earth, and the surging origin of the 5 elements stirred restlessly. With a swoosh, Zhuanti's entire body was sucked into it. For a moment, a small world floated behind Kong Xian. The brilliance of the 5 elements flowed. From a distance, the rays of light were translucent. They were green, red, white, black, and purple. Wherever they went, the chi activity melted like boiling water. And in the center was Zhuani. When the people of West Qi saw this, they could not help but turn pale with fright. Except for Fang Qingshan, who had foresight, even Daipamkara and the others could not help but be shocked. Of course, they were not worried about the sages. After all, they knew how powerful the sages were. They were completely shocked by Kong Xian's outburst. What a 5-color divine light! What a 5-colored world! Seeing this scene, Fang Qingshan observed and memorized it while sighing with emotion. Kong Xian was indeed one of the few people with the highest attainments in the 5 elements below the sages. With the 5-color divine light as the foundation and the 5 elemental Tao law, to build the five-colored world. If he obtained another five-elemental treasure, such as the top-notch innate five-elements fruit tree or the innate five-direction flag, he might even be able to compete with the sages if he integrated them into it. However, even without those treasures, this five-colored world was already amazing enough. Once his five-elemental Tao law reached the advanced level or his world reached the perfection, Kong Xian could even use this method to directly prove his Tao as a perfected golden immortal of the origin and master the five-elemental laws. Fortunately, although Fang Qingshan was amazed by Kong Xian's power, he felt lucky in his heart. After all, he and Kong Xian both walked the five-elemental Tao law. With Kong Xian's power, if he had not forced himself to be brave this time and suppress Zhuani, thus provoking Zhuani to break the five-colored world and hurt his origin, so that the five-elemental Tao law could not reach the perfection for a long time, he was afraid that he would not have the chance to catch up at all. And once Kong Xian used the five-elemental Tao to prove his Tao, apart from killing him, he could only find another way to go. After all, the Great Way was alone, and there was only one Great Way. Regardless of what Fang Qingshan thought in his heart, at this moment, Zhuani had the thought of King Husky in his heart. He did not expect that his carelessness would actually let Kong Xian, a mere perfected golden immortal of the origin, sweep him away. It was simply a loss of face. Although his reputation was now bad, and he had no face to speak of, at this moment, Zhuani could not help but be angry. Buzz! There was a sound of thunder in the five-colored world, and a holy statue appeared. It had 18 hands and 24 heads, holding a necklace umbrella cover, a flower pot and fish intestines, a divine pestle, a treasure file, a golden bell, a golden bow, a silver halberd, and a banner. It was Zhuanti's golden body Dharma form. As soon as this golden body appeared, there was a sound of silk tearing, and the entire five-colored world could not bear the burden, and not long after, it directly shattered. Wow! The five-colored world was broken, and Kong Xian immediately suffered a backlash. However, the worst thing was that after Zhuani's golden body broke the five-colored world, it directly fell on Kong Xian, pressing him directly to reveal his true form. Then, Zhuani formed a Buddhist seal and hit it on the top of Kong Xian's head. At this point, Kong Xian could no longer resist and obediently spat out the magic treasures and people that he had taken away. Then, he carried Zhuanti and flew towards Mount Meru in the west. Chapter 485. It was neither copper, iron, nor steel. It was once hidden under Mount Meru. If he did not reverse the yin and yang, how could he not be tempered by water and fire? The immortal slaying sword was sharp, the immortal slaying sword was dead, and the immortal trapping sword was red everywhere. The immortal exterminating sword had endless changes, and the zenith immortal's clothes were stained with blood. Kong Xian was subdued, and the Shang dynasty's guardian was completely destroyed. The West Qi army advanced all the way. Everywhere they went, people surrendered. Soon, they arrived at the Boundary Plate Pass. This battle could be said to be crucial to both the Shang dynasty and the Jie school. It was even a battle of life and death. If the Grand Master of Heaven was defeated, the Shang dynasty naturally would not be lucky. Destruction was right in front of them. What about the Jie school? If the immortal slaying sword formation was defeated, it would be fine if the Grand Master of Heaven fell silent. But was that possible? The Grand Master of Heaven was an arrogant person. Moreover, he cultivated the sword. Swordsmen were unyielding. They could be defeated, but they could not surrender. If they surrendered, his great Tao would probably stop there. Besides, how could the Grand Master of Heaven be indifferent to the dynasty he protected and all his disciples? He would definitely fight with his back to the river. Therefore, after the immortal slaying sword formation was defeated, it was reasonable to set up the 10,000 Immortals formation. If the immortal slaying sword formation could not do it, the 10,000 Immortals formation naturally could not. Therefore, the key was still the battle at the Boundary Plate Pass. Not only would it decide the fate of the Shang dynasty and the Jie school, but it would also determine the situation of the desolation continent thousands of years later. If the Jeschool was not defeated, the 10,000 immortals would still be the strongest and suppress the entire desolation continent. If the Jeschool was defeated, the Buddhist sect would take advantage of the situation and rise. It would be a surging trend that could not be changed. As for the West Qi army, ever since Kong Xian was suppressed, Fang Qingshan entered seclusion again. Although the battle between Kong Xian and Zhuni was short, whether it was the shocking saber that was deduced from the five elements or the small world that was purely formed from the five elements, Fang Qingshan's heart swayed, and he benefited a lot. He sat under the Bodhi tree, holding the Bodhi seed in his hand. His mind was like a supercomputer, working quickly. His mind was filled with the saber and the world. He separated it, broke it into pieces, and chewed it little by little. Although he had only observed from the side and remembered a bit of it, compared to comprehending it on his own, who knew how many detours he had to take. It was no wonder that very few people could rise to the top by working behind closed doors. After comprehending Kong Xian's great Tao of the five elements, Fang Qingshan even refined another restriction on the five elements spirit pearl. This was not only a pleasant surprise, but it also showed the essence of his great Tao of the five elements. What a pity! At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan opened his eyes and muttered to himself regretfully, "If I could capture Kong Xian and purify him, just like Qiongqi, how great would that be?" Of course, Fang Qingshan only thought about it. Kong Xian made Zhuni lose so much face, but he only broke his world of the five elements and suppressed it. He did not purify him. Fang Qingshan actually wanted to purify Kong Xian. It was simply wishful thinking. Not to mention, with Kong Xian's cultivation level, it was impossible for him to purify Kong Xian. Not only that, but even if Kong Xian was like a dragon in shallow water, once he tried to purify him, the best outcome would be him being devoured. Moreover, even if he could purify Kong Xian, at that time, even Laozi would not be able to protect him. After all, behind Kong Xian stood a sacred beast that could suppress the five elements of heaven and earth, as well as the phoenix ancestor who could suppress the undying volcano. Although the two of them might not be comparable to Laozi, even Laozi would not dare to underestimate the merit and luck that they had. If they insisted on killing Fang Qingshan, Laozi would probably have to bow down. At that time, the best outcome would be reincarnation. Buzz! At that moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly heard a sword chime. Clang, clang, clang. At first, it was like dripping water in front of the eaves. Suddenly, the sound gradually became louder, like a storm, and there were even sonic booms in between breaths. That was not the end. In an instant, the sonic booms gathered together and rose in a soul-stirring manner like thunder from the nine heavens. At the same time, the all-heaven swords and other swords in Fang Qingshan's hands began to vibrate. They actually wanted to break free from Fang Qingshan's control and fly to the place where the sword chime had just come from. Fang Qingshan could even feel their eagerness and devotion, as if they were on a pilgrimage. It was not just Fang Qingshan's swords. At that moment, all the swords in desolation were trembling. Apart from Mingi's Yuan Tu, Avicii, Xuanyuan's Run Wang sword, Tong Tian's Qingping sword, and a few other supreme swordsmanship treasures, all the other swords were trembling. They were all excited and worshipping. It was like 100 birds worshipping the phoenix and 10,000 dragons worshipping the heavens. It was not only the sound of the swords, but also the monstrous evil qi. At that moment, it seemed that all the calamity qi and evil qi had gathered together. It was so oppressive that it was a little suffocating. The cold, murderous intent was overwhelming and filled up the surroundings. At that moment, whether it was the high and mighty sages who did whatever they wanted, or the common people in the mortal world who only cared about food and clothing and the interests of the people, their expressions changed. Of course, the common people did not know what was going on. They only knew that a great disaster was coming. They trembled and could only pray to the gods in heaven to save them. But what they did not know was that this thing was made by the gods they prayed to. The sages had long heard of the reputation of the immortal slaying sword formation from Hongjun, but seeing was better than hearing 100 times. Before seeing it for themselves, they could not help but have some doubts. In the eyes of Laozi and the others, the immortal slaying sword formation was at most similar to the great divine being's killing formation and the Zodiac star formation. In fact, their thoughts were not wrong. The immortal slaying sword formation was indeed on par with them. But important things were repeated 3 times. The person who set up the formation was different. The person who set up the formation was sect leader Tong Tian, a sage. Back then, the person who set up the formation was Du Qian and Zhou Tian. So what if it was the most powerful Eastern Emperor Tai, known as the #1 person below the sage? Everyone below the sage was like an ant. It was like a palm thunder. In the hands of an ordinary person, it was just a palm thunder. If a sage used it, even an ordinary palm thunder could exert the power of the heavenly thunder of purple cloud. After all, it varied from person to person. It seems that Master did not lie. This formation is indeed unbreakable except for the 4 sages. At first sight of the immortal slaying sword formation, the primeval Lord of Heaven could not help but feel lucky. Fortunately, I only invited those 2 people. Although the price is a little high, as long as I can win, everything will be fine. However, what the primeval Lord of Heaven did not know was that although he had won the war of the gods' investiture, he had still lost. The immortal slaying sword formation. There was no need for him to show up. Fang Qingshan thought about it and knew what was causing trouble. As soon as he walked out of the formation, Fang Qingshan shuddered and subconsciously opened the defense of the 5 elements halo. What a strong, evil spirit! Fang Qingshan was shocked. Chapter 486. The malevolent aura was so thick that it produced illusions. Somehow, the images of the future were covered in a layer of blood-red light, as if foreshadowing inauspiciousness and disaster. This was only the periphery affected by the immortal slaying sword formation. Once one entered the immortal slaying sword formation, what kind of state would that be? Just the thought of it sent shivers down one's spine. It was both excitement and fear. Fang Qingshan had seen the 10 ultimate formation and the 9 bends Yellow River formation. These 2 formations were considered top-notch in the entire Desolation formation, especially the 9 bends Yellow River formation. Under Yun Zhao's hands, even a demi-saint who had slain a corpse would not fare well if they did not have any treasures, let alone an ordinary demi-saint. Fang Qingshan had long known that the 9 bends Yellow River formation and the 10 ultimate formation were top-notch formations, while the immortal slaying sword formation was a peerless formation. There were only 3 in the entire Desolation formation. However, like everyone else, guessing before seeing it would only be an underestimation. Seeing it in person was better than hearing about it. Fang Qingshan had reason to believe that even a demi-saint would have problems protecting themselves, let alone a Grand Luo. The immortal slaying sword formation set up by a sage could only be explored by a sage. Others would only be courting death. Under the boundary tablet, the immortal slaying sword formation was set up. The Lord of Numinous Treasure, the Lord of Tao and Virtue, and the Lord of Primordial Beginning had arrived. The Grand Master of Heaven rode the Kuei ox, led by the Child of Aqua and Fire. He held the heavenly flower flag in his hand and carried the Qingping sword on his back. Sword chi surged into the sky as he stood before the immortal slaying sword formation, looking down on the world and the crowd. He was fearless even against millions of enemies. On the other side, Laozi rode the green ox, led by the great master of Xuandu. He did not reveal any treasures or cast any magical powers, but like a river or a reef, the boundless malevolent aura seemed to have no choice but to change its path. The Lord of Primordial Beginning rode the 4 odd beasts, led by the Child of White Crane. Auspicious clouds spread, beads and pearls hung from the sky, and thousands of golden flowers bloomed. 5-colored light illuminated the heavens, and celestial music resounded throughout the universe. Countless golden lamps, golden lotuses, beads, and pearls fell from the sky like raindrops. The three sages confronted each other. Although there was a strong smell of smoke, the entire place was enshrouded in mist. Immortal music sounded in unison, and strange scenes appeared indistinct. Auspicious clouds and colorful energy rushed into the sky, illuminating the boundary marker until it was bright red. Even though the murderous aura had been isolated, the might of the sage was still overwhelming. The crowd felt suffocated, as if a mountain was pressing down on their chests. Tong Tian, back then, when we were discussing the investiture of the gods in the Purple Cloud Palace, it was stipulated that those with deep roots would attain the celestial Tao. Those with slightly lower roots would attain the divine Tao. Those with shallow roots would attain the human Tao, but they would still suffer the pain of reincarnation. What's more, the phoenix cries in Chi, and the will of the heavens is in Zhou. What you've done is against the will of the heavens. You've set up this evil array to obstruct the great tribulation. How dare you call yourself a saint? Yuan Shi Tianzuan stepped forward and scolded Tong Tian. Hee, I don't deserve to be called a saint. This is the biggest joke in the world. The Tong Tian sect leader sneered. Back then, the Purple Cloud Palace agreed that no one would write anything and that it would all be up to heaven's will. Whoever dies on the list deserves it. They are unlucky and have bad luck. So many of my disciples died, but none of them died. Yet, you actually shamelessly took action personally. How dare you criticize me? Indeed, a shameless person is invincible in the world. Yuan Shi Tianzuan didn't expect Tong Tian sect leader to be so eloquent. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He said in exasperation, "Your disciples are just wet-born people with hair and horns. How can they compare to my disciples? So what if a few more of them die? Besides, although I took action, I only killed Xiong Xiao, and by Xiao, Yun Xiao only suppressed them. So do I have to thank you?" Tong Tian sect leader said with a faint smile. "You're unreasonable," Yuan Shi Tianzuan said hatefully. Enough. Seeing that the two of them were quarreling, Laozi interrupted them. "How can you behave like this in front of so many juniors and our friends in Hongjun Tiandao?" After a pause, Laozi said to Tong Tian sect leader, "Although the power of the immortal slaying sword formation is extraordinary, it's quite ominous. Brother, you should put away this formation and fight with primordial being in the chaos." Laozi had good intentions because he knew that primordial being had already gone to the west to invite Junti. For sages were taking action, and he and primordial being had supreme treasures with them. Moreover, the guide was someone he was quite afraid of. Although the immortal slaying sword formation was powerful, it would definitely be broken. Once the immortal slaying sword formation was broken, it would not be as simple as breaking a formation. First of all, Tong Tian's sect was humiliated. He would definitely be indignant and would go to extremes. Then, because the Jie school did not have any supreme treasures to suppress their luck, they used formations, such as the immortal slaying sword formation and the 10,000 immortal formation. Their luck could not be suppressed. If the immortal slaying sword formation was broken, it would be even worse. In addition, even if the immortal slaying sword formation was broken, his and Yuan Shi Tianzuan's reputation would not be good. Therefore, he wanted to persuade him. Unfortunately, his good intentions were treated as ill intent. He would not shed tears until he saw the coffin. Tong Tian sect's next words immediately made his face and heart sink. "Ha! So you can't break my formation and are ready to admit defeat? Just say it. I'm not an unreasonable person." Sovereign Skirich chuckled when he heard this. "As long as primordial being says that he can't break the immortal slaying sword formation and admits defeat, I will immediately withdraw the formation." As the saying goes, there was no turning back. Since the immortal slaying sword formation had been set up, there was no reason to withdraw it. Tong Tian sect leader had grasped Yuan Shi Tianzuan's mentality. He knew that Yuan Shi Tianzuan was a very proud person like himself and would never admit defeat. Sure enough, After hearing Tongtian's sect leader's words, Yuan Shi Tianzin, who was a little tempted by Laozi's persuasion, immediately abandoned the expectation in his heart. He stared coldly at Tongtian's sect leader and said, "Can't break your formation? There is no formation in the world that can't be broken. How about the Zodiac star formation and the 12 divine beings killing formation? They are not much weaker than the immortal slaying sword formation, but they were still broken. Moreover, it's not the first time the immortal slaying sword formation has been broken." Speaking of this, Yuan Shi Tianzin looked at Tongtian's sect leader meaningfully. "What do you mean?" Tongtian's sect leader suddenly felt a sense of uneasiness. Yuan Shi Tianzin did not answer him, but looked up to the west. He saw that the great immortal was barefoot and stepping on the auspicious clouds, which was even more unusual. 12 lotus thrones played magic treasures, and white light appeared beside the 8 virtues pool. Longevity is the same as heaven and earth. Words are not short, and good fortune is not arrogant. Relic cultivation is called embryonic breath. Leisure and bliss is the West. It was the Western sage who had brought Zhuanti here. When Tongtian's sect leader saw the two, he did not know what was going on. He turned around and fixed his eyes on Laozi and Yuan Shi Tianzin. After a while, he suddenly burst into laughter. Good. From today on, the name Sanqing is no longer used. Chapter 487. What? Tongtian, how dare you? Hearing Tongtian's resolute words, even Laozi and Primordial Lord of Origin, who already knew that Tongtian was strong-willed, were caught off guard and looked at him in a daze. It was not just Laozi and Primordial Lord of Origin. At this moment, everyone who heard this was dumbfounded, except for Feng Qingshan, who knew what would happen in the future, so he had no doubts about it. In fact, it was no wonder that Tongtian was so resolute. First, he was a proud and lofty person and could not tolerate any sand in his eyes. First, his own disciple was bullied by Primordial Lord of Origin. Then he said that his disciple was a wet-born, egg-like person. After all, they were a family. Behind closed doors, there was no need to be so polite. Even if there were some bumps, it would not affect the brotherly bond. However, Tongtian never thought that Primordial Lord of Origin and Laozi would invite outsiders to help break his immortal slaying sword formation. This was the most unacceptable thing to him. Not only did they fight among themselves, but they even invited a wolf into the house. How could Tongtian not feel despair? Pangu died, and his primordial spirit was divided into 3 parts, which combined with the pure energy of heaven and earth to form Sanqing. At the same time, Sanqing became a disciple of Hongjun, became a sage at the same time, and established a religion at the same time. Although Kunlun split back then, everyone could see that there was discord between Sanqing and Sanqing. But he had never thought that they would actually reach this step today. Red flower, white lotus root, and green lotus leaf. The 3 religions were originally one family. Not only the 3 religions, but Sanqing was also the same. Man proposes, but God disposes. The sky was not high, but the human heart was high. However, in the face of this situation, after the initial shock, almost everyone, except for Laozi and Primordial Lord of Origin, could not suppress the joy in their hearts. The reason for this was that Sanqing put too much pressure on them. First of all, Sanqing was formed from Pangu's primordial spirit. Looking at the entire desolation, even Hongjun could not compare to them. Moreover, they were born with great merit. Each of them had a layer of heaven opening merit. Who wouldn't be jealous? Apart from Daozu, there were only 6 sages in the entire desolation, and 3 of them were Sanqing. Furthermore, all 3 of them were protected by supreme treasures. I have the Khanate cardinal treasure, the Taiji painting, and the postnatal cardinal treasure, the heaven and earth mystic yellow exquisite pagoda. The primeval Lord of Heaven had the number 1 offensive treasure in the world, the Pangu banner. Although Tongtian didn't have any treasures, they had the killing immortal sword formation that couldn't be broken by anyone below the four sages. If the three of them joined forces, other than Dao Zhu and Hong Jun Tiandao, who else could compete with them? Fortunately, it was Laozi who did nothing. The original Tong Tian sect's teachings went in the opposite direction, causing Kunlun to split up and go their separate ways. Only then did the others heave a sigh of relief. But today, when they heard Skirich announce to the world that the name of Sanqing was no longer used, everyone could finally be at ease. Especially Jin and Zhuanti, who almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. The West wanted to develop, and the Buddhism wanted to flourish, but the only obstacle was Sanqing. Now, Sanqing had completely fallen out. Not only were they strangers, but they were also enemies. How could they not be overjoyed? If it weren't for Laozi and Primeval, as well as their own faces, they would almost be celebrating. Even so, the corners of their mouths revealed their feelings. At this moment, Laozi and Primeval couldn't care less about the others watching them make a fool of themselves. They stared at Skirich. "Take back what you said, and I can let bygones be bygones." Laozi said word by word. Otherwise what? You can't kill me, can you?" Heavenly King Skyspan steeled his heart and calmed himself down. He looked at the two of them with an indifferent gaze and said indifferently, "That's right. Since we've come to this point, there's no need to talk nonsense. Let's fight." With that, Skirich patted his mount and entered the immortal slaying sword formation. "Forget it. The sky wants to rain, and the mother wants to marry. Let's go and break this evil formation first." Primeval was stunned for a moment. Then he took the lead and entered. Laozi let out a sigh and followed him in. Then, Zhuanti and Jane smiled at each other and followed closely behind. The formation in the world didn't go beyond the numbers of 1 yuan, 2 polarities, 3 talents, for symbols, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, 8 trigrams, and 9 palaces. No matter how complicated the array formations were, they were all constructed from these basic array formations. No matter how many variations there were, they were still the same. The immortal slaying sword formation was arranged according to the 4 symbols. To break the formation, the 4 swords had to be fixed in place. The immortal slaying sword, immortal trapping sword, immortal slaying sword, and immortal slashing sword were removed. Jane entered the Li Palace. Laozi entered the Dui Palace. Zhuanti entered the Qin Palace, and Primeval Beginning entered the Jin Square. Each of them set up their own formation and broke the immortal slaying sword formation from all 4 sides. After entering the formation, he saw that Laozi was carrying the Xianhuang exquisite pagoda of heaven and earth. Heavenly Primogenitor was carrying the auspicious cloud golden lamp and the Wuji apricot yellow flag. Jane was stepping on the 12th grade golden lotus with 3 huge relics above his head, and Zhuanti was showing his Dharma golden body wrapped around the green lotus flag. Although it was 4 people breaking the formation, and the sages were immortal, if they were too embarrassed, they would lose face. Therefore, each of them armed themselves like a turtle shell. Ever since Jane and Zhuanti arrived, Skirich knew that his immortal slaying sword formation was finished. Even so, he didn't admit defeat. He had a strong character, and even if he lost, he would make Laozi and the others pay the price. As the 4 of them entered the formation, a cold light flashed in Skirich's eyes. His hands formed a seal, and a bolt of lightning flew out. Boom! The entire immortal slaying sword formation shook, and then the 4 sharp swords trembled slightly, and an infinite amount of sword light burst out. The ghastly sword light scattered flowers in the sky. It was as fast as lightning, filled with white cold. Just one move seemed to be able to cut through time and space. All the things in front of them were like broken mirrors, scattering in all directions. For a moment, except for Laozi, Primordial Lord, and the other 2 couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. The auspicious cloud swayed, the golden lamp flickered, the golden body relics dimmed, and the lotus platform was cut off. Damn it! Since the 3 of them became sages, when had they ever suffered such a big loss? They were not people who would just take a beating without fighting back. At the same time, They shouted and took out their own attack treasures. Yuanshi Tianzuan took out a flag and waved it heavily. A chaotic sword light seemed to want to split the sky and earth. Jane and Juanti, although not as good as Yuanshi Tianzuan, also had their own means. Jane was holding a bamboo pole, which was the treasure transformed from the top Khanate's spiritual root, the bamboo of tranquility. With a gentle poke, it was like a sharp sword stabbing a hole in the sky and earth. And Juanti held a divine pestle in his hand, turned into a giant, and with an angry look, smashed the sky and earth with a heavy hammer. Seeing this, sect leader Tong Tian snorted coldly and took out a treasure. It was purple gold and flashed with lightning. It was the top-grade Khanate's spiritual treasure, the purple lightning hammer. The power of the 4 treasured swords increased by 30%, and the sword chi was like a dragon, advancing wave after wave, instantly annihilating the attacks of the 3. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.